Chapter 1386. The nether mantises were more powerful than ordinary monster kings. Moreover, they could turn invisible, which made them quite terrifying. Yi Chun ordered the nether mantises to move freely. After the nether mantises turned invisible in the untainted world, they could not be easily discovered unless they were within 1,000 feet of Yi Chun. Suddenly, the demonic beasts in the untainted world encountered a catastrophe. The nether mantises could also evolve by devouring the demonic beast's flesh, but not as fast as the nether knight's corpses. However, the good thing was that there were endless demonic beasts in the untainted world. With the cold pool as the center, the demonic beasts within a radius of 5 million miles were almost all killed by the nether mantises in nearly a month. They were all devoured by the nether mantises, including several large tribes, including those led by monster kings. Yi Chun had been searching for treasures for a long time, and his micro-world was almost full. Suddenly, he received a distress signal from the Samsara dynasty. "Your Majesty, we are under attack by the demonic beasts. Please come back quickly." A cold light flashed in Yi Chun's eyes. He had already cleaned out the northwest Yinzhou. How could they be attacked by the demonic beasts? Then Yi Chun gave an order, and the nether mantises that were looting around quickly gathered back. About an hour later, Yi Chun suddenly opened his eyes. There were countless giant nether mantises that were more than 200 feet long gathered around him. Each of the nether mantises exuded a bloodthirsty aura, and they crouched at Yi Chun's feet respectfully. Yi Chun snorted coldly and waved his sleeves, putting them all away. Then he rode on the Lava Dragon King and rushed back to the Samsara dynasty. He had been out for more than half a year, and it was time to go back and have a look. At this time, the battle in the Samsara dynasty was in full swing. Zhao Yun, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Li Yuanba, and the others led a defense team to the west of the Samsara dynasty to resist the attack of the golden-haired rats. Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, Gan Ning, Han Deng, Cheng Pu, and Huang Zhong led a defense team to the east of the Samsara dynasty to resist the attack of the sky-devouring dogs. Su Chu, Tong Yuan, Lu Jin, Sun Jian, and Sun Se led a defense team to the north of the Samsara dynasty to resist the attack of the demonic bears. Su Huang, Ma Teng, Ma Chao, and Ma Tai led a defense team to the south of the Samsara dynasty to resist the attack of the Flamingo tribe. In the south of the Samsara dynasty, Zhang and demonic beasts and demonic beasts, and demonic beasts, demonic beasts, and demonic beasts and demons. Demonic beasts. Demonic beasts were demonic where beasts were demonic demons. They had thought of retreating to the Samsara city and killing the demonic beasts with the advantage of the Samsara city. However, the Reincarnation Dynasty had already built countless mines and cities in the northwest region of the Cloud region. Many of the Reincarnation Dynasty's residents had settled in these cities. Once the Reincarnation Dynasty retreated, these cities and mines would be turned into ruins. Even if they defeated the demonic beasts and rebuilt them, it would take a lot of energy and time. Moreover, there were countless ordinary people in the cities and mines. If they retreated, the ordinary people would be killed cruelly by the demonic beasts. Therefore, every defense team fought with the demonic beasts passionately. They did not give up even an inch of land. After days of brutal fighting, the Samsara dynasty warriors suffered heavy casualties. However, their progress was also very fast. Most of the warriors had reached the God martial arts realm. Most of the generals had passed the crossing calamity stage and reached the human immortal realm. Facing the strong defense of the Samsara dynasty, the demonic beasts on the other side suffered more casualties. However, the demonic beasts were too numerous. They seemed to be endless, which gave the defending generals a headache. Zhang Fei flicked the serpent spear in his hand and pierced a huge hole in one of the demon beasts. Wiping the blood off his face, he turned his head and roared out, "Why can't we kill these damn bastards? Second brother, our men are running out. What should we do now?" Guan Yu waved the green dragon crescent saber in his hand. His body emitted a fierce saber light that was hundreds of feet long. Suddenly, hundreds of demonic beasts were cut in half. Guan Yu snorted, his phoenix eyes emitting two rays of cold light. As long as one of us is still alive, we can't let these damned beasts cross this line of defense. Otherwise, even if we die, we won't be able to explain to His Majesty. Zhang Fei roared and said, "That's right. His Majesty told us before he left. I don't want to be blamed by him. Brothers, follow me." They were facing the golden fur rats, but each of these golden fur rats was much larger than the wild boar king. These golden fur rats were more than 15 meters long, and their golden fur was like steel needles. Their shiny teeth could cut through gold and break jade. What was more troublesome was that these golden-haired rats were good at digging holes. If the Samsara dynasty's position had not been strengthened and the formation had not been set up, it would have been broken by these golden-haired rats. At first glance, these golden-haired rats seemed to be endless, filling the whole field of vision. What's more, these golden-haired rats ate everything, even the trees in the area they occupied. They were like locusts passing through. Wherever they went, there was no grass. Guan Yu, Zhao Yun, and Zhang Fei led their soldiers to fight a bloody battle. At the critical moment when they were about to collapse, they suddenly heard a loud dragon roar coming from the sky. A lava dragon king, more than 10,000 feet in size, descended from the sky. The Rocky Dragon roared excitedly. "Huh, so much food. You little rats, don't run away." Then it opened its mouth, and a tornado blew across the ground. Suddenly, at least tens of thousands of golden-haired rats within a radius of 10 miles were all sucked into its mouth. The Lava Dragon King let out a terrifying chewing noise, with blood dripping down from the corners of its mouth. These golden-haired rats screamed and immediately attacked the Lava Dragon King crazily. Although they were not worth mentioning compared to the Lava Dragon King, there were too many of them. Almost in an instant, the Lava Dragon King's huge body was covered with golden-haired rats. These golden-haired rats tore the Lava Dragon King's body crazily. Unfortunately, the Lava Dragon King's body was so strong that these golden-haired rats could not break its defense. Suddenly, a fierce fire broke out from the Lava Dragon King's body. Suddenly, the golden-haired rats covering the Lava Dragon King's body were burned to a crisp. The Lava Dragon King calmly turned around and swallowed them all in one gulp. Chapter 1387. More than 100,000 golden-haired rats were killed by the Lava Dragon King as soon as it shook its head and tail. Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, Zhao Yun, and the other generals did not relax. Instead, they were on high alert as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Although the Lava Dragon King was devouring the golden-haired rats, they could not tell whether it was a friend or a foe. If it was one of the demonic beasts that attacked them, they would be in big trouble. It seemed that they could not resist the Lava Dragon King. At this moment, the Lava Dragon King looked up at the generals and said in a booming voice, "You are the generals of the Samsara dynasty, right? I am here to help you kill the enemy under the order of my master, His Majesty Yichun." Zhang Fei and the others' eyes lit up. They laughed and said, "Haha, His Majesty is back. No wonder this guy is so fierce. It turns out that he is His Majesty's subordinate." Then Zhang Fei suddenly turned around and roared, "Brothers, His Majesty is back. All of you, follow me to battle." Instantly, the generals and soldiers of the Samsara dynasty on the Western Front roared crazily, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They rushed out of the trenches and swept forward with their battle chi. With the existence of the Lava Dragon King, the golden-haired rats had no power to resist at all. They were being chased by the Samsara dynasty's security forces. On the Eastern Front, where Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, and the other generals were stationed, their opponents were the sky-devouring dogs. These sky-devouring dogs were very cunning and could appear and disappear unpredictably. Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, and the other generals had a headache because their position had been besieged by the sky-devouring dogs. Gao Shun was good at defense, and his position was impenetrable. However, the sky-devouring dogs could not break in, and they could not get out. The demonic beasts of the sky-devouring dogs simply surrounded them and did not attack. If this went on, They would be defeated by themselves when their provisions ran out. Zhang Liao had once tried to lead a group of soldiers to break out of the encirclement, but the sky-swallowing dog race's sense of smell was extremely sensitive. There was no way to escape their noses. After failing to break through the encirclement, Zhang Liao could only retreat back into the city. Just as the generals were frowning, a scout suddenly strode in and knelt on one knee. "Generals, I've discovered something. It seems that the heaven-devouring dog tribe's camp is in chaos." Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, and the others immediately stood up and shouted with furrowed brows, "What are these animals up to now? Let's go take a look." Soon after, Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, and the other generals appeared on top of the city wall. They saw that the heaven-devouring dog tribe's camp in the distance was already in chaos. Miserable cries could be heard everywhere. It was as if there was an invisible hunter in the darkness, constantly harvesting their lives. This time, the sensitive nose of the heaven-devouring dog was useless. It was as if there was a terrifying enemy hiding in the void. It was not just one, but a group. These heaven-devouring dogs widened their eyes in horror and looked around. Suddenly, a huge machete more than 10 feet long appeared behind them. With a shrill cry, it suddenly swept over. Instantly, more than 300 heaven-devouring dogs were directly chopped in half at the waist. Then, their corpses were dragged into the darkness. The sound of chewing constantly came from the darkness. This sound was like a death sentence, causing the souls of the heaven-devouring dog tribe to leave their bodies. In the heaven-devouring dog tribe's camp, such a situation was happening everywhere. In a short moment, tens of thousands of heaven-devouring dogs were wiped out, and they did not even see who did it. The highly efficient killing continued. After hundreds of thousands of deaths, the heaven-devouring dog tribe quickly collapsed. They scattered in all directions, but the killing did not stop. The hidden hand was everywhere. One by one, the heaven-devouring dog tribe members fell on their way to escape. And these terrifying killers in the dark were just the 500 hell mantises sent by Yi Chun. The hell mantises' killing speed was really fast. The main reason was that the fear of the unknown was too strong after they became invisible. These heaven-devouring dog tribe members did not know who they were fighting for. After the elusive hell mantises targeted them, they were completely unlucky. When the sky brightened the next day, Gao Shun and Zhang Liao found that the heaven-devouring dog tribe members around them had already retreated. And according to the reports sent back by the scouts, there were many broken limbs on the way of the heaven-devouring dog tribe, as if they were bitten by something. Gao Shun frowned and said, "We can't be careless. This unknown guy is not clear whether he is friend or foe. We must strengthen our fortifications. In addition, send troops to contact the other lines of defense and see how the brothers are doing." Sun Jian, Sun Su, Su Chu, Tong Yuan, and the others were facing the demonic bear tribe, but they did not have any advantage. Originally, Sun Jian, Sun Su, Tong Yuan, and the others were almost unable to resist, but a group of cold-blooded killers suddenly appeared in the dark and killed the demonic bear tribe members crazily. The huge body of the demonic bear tribe members was like a piece of paper. They were easily cut in half by the butcher's knife in the dark. Then they were dragged into the darkness and devoured. There were not many demonic bears besieging the Samsara dynasty, only about 9 million of them. Their strongest points were their immense strength and sturdy defense. Even a top-grade spirit weapon could not break through their skin and fur. But the demonic bears could do nothing under the slaughter of the hell mantises. In front of these hell mantises, which were more than 200 feet in size, the demonic bears were as weak as 3-year-old children. The most tragic thing for the demonic bears was that they were too slow. When they felt that something was wrong and wanted to escape, it was already too late. Their speed had doomed them. Before they could escape more than 100 miles away, they had been caught up by the hell mantises and were all killed. Sun Jian, Sun Su, Su Chu, and the others were stunned when they saw more than 500 giant nether mantises appearing out of thin air and devouring the corpses of the Herculean demonic bears in an orderly manner. They had keenly noticed that these powerful and terrifying killing experts could hide themselves. These horrible killers were the nightmare of all enemies. At this time, the messenger sent by Gao Shun also arrived. When the Hell Mantises saw the military uniform of the messenger of the Samsara dynasty, they ignored him and continued to eat. After seeing this scene, Sun Jian, Sun Su, and the others heaved a sigh of relief. The messengers sent by Gao Shun also understood how the heaven-devouring dog clan was destroyed. After the communication, Sun Jian, Sun Su, Su Chu, and the others knew that the front line of Gao Shun and Zhang Liao was also saved by these horrible killers. But who sent them? Chapter 1388. As for Yi Chun, he appeared at the southern front line guarded by Su Huang, Ma Chao, and the others. Ma Chao and the others were facing an overwhelming number of flamingos. These flamingos could spit flames from their mouths. Each flamingos had a wingspan of more than 10 feet. They could easily pick up a warhorse. They circled the front line all day long, spitting out flames from time to attack. Their height was too high. Even Ma Chao and the others could barely kill them with their immortal tier bows. As for the spirit tier bows used by their subordinates, their lethality was too limited. Unless these flamingos swooped down, their speed was too fast. Furthermore, Fiery Bird's diving speed was too fast. Even if they could kill a few, the soldiers under them would suffer heavy casualties. At this moment, Yi Chen suddenly appeared in midair. As soon as he appeared, he immediately activated the Divine Firmament Jade Thunder Army. Immediately after, hundreds of thousands of lightning bolts fell within a radius of 100 miles. The entire sky was filled with lightning bolts. Those arrogant flamingos were charred black by the lightning bolts. They screamed miserably as they fell from the sky to the ground. When these flamingos fell to the ground, they were completely roasted. The sky was empty. With just this wave of attack, Yi Chen had killed as many as 1 million flamingos. Ma Chao and Su Huang rubbed their eyes in disbelief. They looked at the familiar figure shining in the sky. Suddenly, the two of them were ecstatic. Then they roared desperately, "It's His Majesty. Our Majesty has returned. Brothers, His Majesty has returned to save us." Suddenly, all the soldiers of the Reincarnation Dynasty roared excitedly. In the Reincarnation Dynasty, Yi Chen was a unique god. In their hearts, Yi Chen was omnipotent. As long as Yi Chen returned, everything would be fine. Ma Chao and Su Huang nodded. Ma Chao's voice resounded through the sky. "Soldiers of the Reincarnation Dynasty, attack with me." Immediately after, Yi Chen took the lead and rushed towards the flamingos. Yi Chen's speed was so fast that it was almost teleportation. Furthermore, the Divine Firmament Imperial Lightning Art did not stop. Wherever he appeared, the sky would be filled with tens of thousands of lightning bolts. Those flamingos fell in droves and immediately became clean. After Ma Chao and Su Huang led the Reincarnation Dynasty's army and rushed out, there was almost no room for them to make a move. Looking at the scattered flamingos, Ma Chao gritted his teeth and said, "Brothers, clean up these damned flamingos. His Majesty has given us an extra meal." Suddenly, the almost roasted flamingos were all picked up by the warriors of the Samsara dynasty. Each of the flamingos weighed a few hundred pounds. Furthermore, these flamingos were almost at the pinnacle of Great Fae. Their flesh and blood essence contained a huge amount of energy. If consumed in large quantities, it would be of great help to one's cultivation. In a short period of time, the number of flamingos killed by Yi Chen had reached several million. At this moment, the flamingos had also discovered the terrifying killer Yi Chen. The flamingos also wanted to gather together and kill Yi Chen first. Unfortunately, it was useless. As long as they approached within 100 miles of Yi Chen, they would immediately be struck down by these lightning bolts. Yi Chen did not continue to chase after these flamingos. However, in his heart, he had already sentenced these flamingos to death. He waved his hand, and Xiaoxi immediately transformed into her original body. Like a bolt of lightning, she quietly followed behind these flamingos. The treasure-hunting psychic bird's body was very small and fast. These flamingos did not even notice that there was a small tail behind them. As long as they found their nest, it would be time for Yi Chun to destroy them. At this moment, Ma Chao, Su Huang, and the other generals had already walked forward quickly. They knelt on both knees and said loudly, "Greetings, Your Majesty." "Welcome back, Your Majesty." Yi Chun glanced at them indifferently and said coldly, "Leave 2 generals behind to guard. The rest of you, return to Reincarnation City." Then Yi Chun's figure flashed and disappeared. His order instantly spread throughout the battlefield. Zhang Fei, Li Yuanba, Huang Gai, Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, and the others all knew that Yi Chun had returned. Therefore, these fierce generals of the Reincarnation Dynasty left 2 generals behind to guard the border, and the others rushed back to the Reincarnation Dynasty as fast as lightning. Yi Chun's return was celebrated by the whole country. In the harem, Zhao Yu and the other beauties knelt on the ground and said in surprise, "Your Majesty, you're back." Empress Hari even went into Yi Chun's arms and said discontentedly, "Your Majesty, why did you come back so late? I heard that some blind people came to invade our Reincarnation Dynasty. I wanted to do it myself, but Sister Zhao Yu and the others did not let me leave Reincarnation City." Yi Chun stroked his little head and said, "Don't worry, I've dealt with them." After accompanying them in the harem for a while, Yi Chun appeared in the throne room. Guo Jia, Jia Su, and the other civil officials quickly came to pay respects to Yi Chun. Yi Chun nodded with satisfaction when he saw that Chen Gong, Tian Feng, and the others were now human immortals. Dian Wei, Zhang Fei, Li Yuanba, and the others had all reached the human immortal realm. It seemed that he was not the only one who had improved during this period of time. Everyone had been cultivating hard. Yi Chun nodded to Chen Gong, Tian Feng, and the others and asked, "Tell me, what's going on? Why was our Reincarnation Dynasty suddenly attacked by these demonic beasts?" Chen Gong stood out and said with a frown, "Your Majesty, there must be something fishy about this. Since the establishment of the Reincarnation Dynasty, we have never attacked the outside world. We have only been managing our own territory in the northwest Yinzhou. However, these demonic beasts attacked us from 4 directions at the same time, without any warning. It's obvious that this was a premeditated attack. We still don't know who the mastermind is." Dian Wei stood out and roared angrily, "Your Majesty, these attackers are too abominable. We have lost more than 1 million soldiers. We must avenge them. Blood for blood." Zhang Fei, Su Chu, and the others also roared, "Blood for blood. Those who offend our Reincarnation Dynasty must be killed. Those who offend our Reincarnation Dynasty must be killed." For a moment, the throne room of the Reincarnation Dynasty was filled with angry roars and soared into the sky. Yi Chun also showed a cold smile. "It's kind of interesting. Our Reincarnation Dynasty has been peaceful for so long. It seems that some people have forgotten our blade." Then Yi Chun looked at Chen Gong and the others and said, "Send someone to investigate at once. Find out the mastermind behind this and kill him." Following Yi Chun's order, the scouts of the Reincarnation Dynasty immediately spread out to the northwest Yinzhou. At this moment, Xiaoxi also came back. He came to Yi Chun, knelt down on one knee, and said loudly, "Master, I have followed the group of flamingos and found their nest. They are 30 million miles northwest." Yi Chun nodded and said to Xiaoxi, "Don't alert them for the time being. Keep an eye on them and see which demonic beast they're contacting. If you find anything, come back and report immediately. Don't act without permission." "Understand." And Xiaoxi nodded heavily and immediately transformed into his original body and soared into the sky. Chapter 1389. Yi Chun's arrangements were usually swift and decisive. After his return, the civil and military officials seemed to have found their backbone and knew what to do. Chen Gong stood out and said, "Your Majesty, during the time you were away, we built 38 new cities and increased the population by 50 million. Now the whole country is busy with construction. I don't think we should make a big fuss during this time. Instead, we should focus on stability. Jia Su said coldly. Your Majesty, I have a different opinion. The demons have always been ambitious. Although your Majesty has defeated them with lightning speed, you have not completely beaten them to the point where they are afraid. Therefore, the Reincarnation Dynasty must strike back and kill all those bastards who want to challenge the Reincarnation Dynasty's principles as a warning to the rest of us. Let the barbarians in the untainted land know that the Samsara Dynasty is not to be trifled with. Guo Jia waved his feather fan and said with a cold smile, Your Majesty, I agree with Jia Su. We must fight this war, and we must do it well. Our soldiers have been waiting for your Majesty to come back, so that they can make a comeback. Although Lord Chun is right, this is the untainted land. Only those with stronger fists can survive. Yichen thought for a moment and slapped the table heavily. Let's do as Jia Su and Guo Jia said. Prepare for war. Therefore, the Samsara Dynasty began to prepare for war. The military counselors even sent out all the scouts they had trained. In addition to spying for information, these scouts also had to map the northwest Yinzhou. Yichen nodded in satisfaction as he watched the civil and military officials in the imperial court begin to move like a giant gear. Almost all of the civil and military officials in the court had broken through to the human immortal realm. This was a huge improvement compared to when they had just entered the untainted world. Around the Reincarnation City, huge cities rose from the ground as the residents of the Reincarnation Dynasty moved in. Many of the cities were already flourishing. Therefore, this war could not be fought in the northwest Yinzhou. The enemy must be stopped outside the northwest Yinzhou. Yichen looked at the court of civil and military officials, and after a few moments of thought, he suddenly recalled what he had gained outside. Not bad. You didn't slack off or disappoint me while I was away. I won't let you guys lose to others in terms of equipment. Gather all the warriors you can and gather them at the soldier assembly ground in front of Samsara City. Yichen's words immediately made the eyes of the civil and military officials light up. They knew very well what His Majesty was capable of. With such a big fuss, it must be to upgrade their equipment again. After all, they had already upgraded their equipment twice in a row when they first arrived in the Great Wilderness. Currently, the generals in the imperial court were all equipped with magic treasures, immortal weapons, and bows. If not for the fact that they were so well equipped, the Yao clan would have broken through their defense line long ago, and they would not have been able to wait for Yi Chun to return. Dian Wei, Su Chu, Zhao Yun, Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, Sun Quan, and the others immediately went to gather the troops. Zhang Fei chuckled and said, Second brother, His Majesty is going to change our equipment again this time. To be honest, the immortal Great Serpent Spear in my hand is quite useful. If he changes it again, won't he be giving us a divine-grade weapon? That way, Old Zhang's strength will rise by a lot. Ida, don't rely too much on those powerful divine weapons. We need to focus on our cultivation. Don't put the cart before the horse. Moreover, the immortal weapons in our hands are enough. Don't think that you'll neglect your cultivation just because you have divine weapons. Guan Yu said with a cold and stern face. Don't put the cart before the horse. What's more, the immortal weapons in our hands are enough. Dianwei laughed and said, Ha, charcoal head, listen to your second brother. It's so reasonable. If everyone is like you, looking forward to upgrading their equipment all day long and neglecting their cultivation, wouldn't it be a joke? Didn't the defense organization of our Samsara dynasty collapse long ago? Zhang Feihuan glared at him and roared angrily. Old Dian, what does this have to do with you? Did I say that I don't want to cultivate? If you don't agree, let's fight one-on-one. Also, if His Majesty wants to upgrade your equipment, you can just give it up. Zhao Yun hurriedly mediated. Okay, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and lead the troops to the square. Don't let His Majesty wait for too long. Not long after, the elite troops of the Samsara Corps, the White Horse Righteous Concubine, and the Formation Breaker had all gathered on the battlefield of the Samsara Holy City. They stood in neat rows on the battlefield without a single hair out of place. The soldiers of the Samsara dynasty were in bright armor, valiant and high-spirited, and full of spirit. The total number of soldiers of these legions was close to 9 million. Every soldier's eyes were bursting with incomparable enthusiasm. They looked fanatically at the familiar figure on the high platform in the distance. That was their majesty, who was also their belief. Every soldier knew that his majesty had gone out to travel and returned in time when the Samsara dynasty was in danger. He defeated the ambitious demon race. Yichen looked at all the soldiers on the battlefield with satisfaction. During the time he was away, these soldiers had made great progress. Almost all of them had reached the God martial arts realm, and only a small number of them were still in the immortal foundation realm. In an instant, Yichen flew up. He floated in the air above the platform, looking down at all the soldiers. His voice thundered across the battlefield. "Soldiers of the Samsara dynasty, I'm your majesty, Yichen. I'm very gratified to have returned this time. Every one of you has made great progress. This is good. Every one of us must grow as fast as possible. Use our hands and swords to protect the land under our feet, to protect our loved ones. As long as you work hard and do your best, I won't be stingy with my rewards." Yichen's voice was clearly transmitted to the ears of every soldier. These soldiers were instantly excited. To be able to receive rewards from Yichen was a great honor. At the same time, the 9 million soldiers from the Samsara dynasty. Yichen dared to make such a promise because he was rich and overbearing. Otherwise, anyone else would feel guilty. The reason why Yichen was so confident was because his harvest this time was too great, especially after he subdued the treasure-seeking psychic bird Xiaoxi. Any heavenly treasure that could be sensed by Xiaoxi wouldn't be able to escape from his hands. Chapter 1390. Furthermore, the boundless amount of rare ores in the misty swamp had already become Yichen's private property. Moreover, Yichen had already arranged for some nether mantises to mine all day and night there. They were quickly producing some dark iron essence, red copper essence, and other such essences. Every once in a while, Yichen would arrange for the hell mantises to return to the foggy swamp and bring back the harvest. During this time in the small world, countless heaven and earth treasures had been accumulated, and those rare concentrates had been piled up like mountains. These blacksmiths and medicine refiners were not idle. Yichen had been wandering outside for more than half a year, but thousands of years had passed in the small world. During this time, the number of blacksmiths and medicine refiners trained by Yichen had exceeded 20,000. Those blacksmiths created a large number of equipment, which were divided into categories and piled up like hills in the small world. Of course, at Yichen's request, the weakest equipment was at the magic weapon level. As for those spiritual weapons, even the lowest soldiers of the Samsara dynasty would not continue to use them. Then Yichen's huge divine sense had enveloped all the soldiers. Then Yichen directly waved his hand, and countless equipment automatically flew from his hand to the soldiers of the Samsara dynasty on the ground. These exquisitely made brand new equipment were emitting dazzling light, and a strong aura rushed to their faces. The soldiers were so excited that their faces and ears turned red. They stretched out their hands, and these equipment automatically fell into their hands as if they had eyes. The 4 million soldiers of the Samsara Legion had a full set of magic weapon level equipment, including bows and arrows of the immortal weapon level. The 2 million soldiers of the Formation Breaker had a full set of magic weapon level equipment, including bows and arrows of the immortal weapon level. The 5 million soldiers of the White Horse Justice had a full set of magic weapon level equipment, including bows and arrows of the immortal weapon level. In the blink of an eye, these equipment had been equipped in the hands of every soldier. With Yichen's order, these soldiers could not wait to put on the brand new equipment. Sure enough, the elite troops of the Samsara dynasty exuded a terrifying aura after changing their equipment. With the enhancement of these equipment, their strength had increased by about 10 times. One of the soldiers said proudly, "Hee, don't you think I look handsome in this? This is a set of magical equipment. If the weapons and arrows of immortal equipment were to fall outside, I'm afraid they would be priceless. Another soldier beside him frowned and said, "Aren't you talking nonsense? In this world, other than His Majesty, who else could be so heroic? Don't you see that our brothers are also equipped with such weapons? I reckon that His Majesty is going to lead us into another big fight." Then Yichen looked at the generals who were rubbing their palms in anticipation and couldn't wait any longer and smiled. With a wave of his hand, another wave of even more dazzling equipment flew towards the generals. Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Zhao Yun, Dian Wei, Su Chu, and other generals were all equipped with immortal weapon-level equipment and divine weapon-level weapons and arrows. These generals were so excited that their faces turned red. It would be a lie if they said they were not excited. After all, these were divine weapon-level weapons and arrows. Even someone as calm as Guan Yu couldn't help stroking the divine weapon-level green dragon crescent blade in his hand again and again. He could vaguely feel that the green dragon crescent blade had become one with the weapon. No wonder it was a divine weapon. It was more than 10 times more powerful than the immortal weapon-level green dragon crescent blade. Seeing that the atmosphere was full of joy, Yichen decided to let them be happy to the fullest. The equipment had been distributed to everyone. Next, it was time to give them some elixirs to improve their bone structure. There were very few treasures in this world that could improve one's bone structure. However, Yichen was lucky enough to encounter the treasure-seeking psychic bird. As for the dark spirit fruits that were obtained from the cold pond, they had settled down in the cold pond in the small world. After being carefully taken care of by the alchemists and being properly cultivated, these dark spirit fruits quickly spread in the cold pond. Now, they had almost covered the entire cold pond. Thus, they reaped a great harvest. They had accumulated hundreds of millions of dark spirit fruits over the years. Yi Chun and Xiaoxi, on the other hand, had swallowed countless dark spirit fruits during this period of time. This made the alchemists feel extremely pained. In their eyes, if they just swallowed the dark spirit fruits like this, a considerable portion of the medicinal effects would be lost. If he wanted the azure nether spirit fruit to display its full medicinal effects, the best way was to refine pills and combine them with other natural treasures to maximize the effects of the azure nether spirit fruit. After continuous experiments, the alchemists used the dark spirit fruits as the main ingredient and other treasures as supplementary ingredients. Heaven did not let down those who worked hard. They finally refined the dark spirit pills that were more powerful than the dark spirit fruits. After repeated experiments, they found that one dark spirit pill could randomly increase one's bone structure by 6 to 21 points. This was already quite amazing. Now, I'll give each of you 3 azure spirit pills to upgrade your bone frames. The number of points each azure spirit pill can increase varies from person to person. As for how much you can increase, it will depend on your own luck. Then, Yichun directly opened his hands like the child of wealth. Clear spirit pills that emitted a rich fragrance flew to each soldier accurately. The soldiers each received 3 dark spirit pills, while the generals each received 12. As for the top strategists, they did not need any equipment. Each of them received a divine weapon for protection and 20 dark spirit pills. The soldiers of the Samsara dynasty were dumbfounded. They looked at the round and smooth dark spirit pills in front of them and could not believe their eyes. Perhaps they were unfamiliar with treasures that could improve their bone structure in the beginner's area of the 3 kingdoms. But after coming to the untainted world, they all understood how rare these pills were. Everyone knew clearly that the level of one's bone structure meant the level of one's future achievements. Why did some soldiers reach the god martial arts realm while others did not break through? It was not that they did not work hard or were lazy. It was that their bone structure was too low and limited them. They were destined to cultivate slower than others. Even if they worked harder than others, they still could not catch up with others. Every soldier's eyes were burning. They held the dark spirit fruits with both hands and knelt down on one knee. They roared enthusiastically, "Thank you, Your Majesty. Long live our Emperor." The roars of millions of soldiers soared into the sky and could be heard clearly in the sacred city of Samsara. Chapter 1391. Yichen smiled and said, "There's no time like the present. Take the elixir together. I'll personally protect you today." The improvement of one's root bone could bring about faster cultivation. Yichen gave out countless mid and high-grade immortal stones to the people below. There was a pile of immortal stones beside each soldier. That was not all. Yichen took out a large number of immortal stones from his pocket and set up a huge spirit-gathering array around the soldier counting field. When the immortal stones were put in place and the spirit-gathering array was activated, all the spiritual chi between heaven and earth gathered in the air above the soldier counting field, forming a tide of spiritual chi. The soldiers sat cross-legged on the ground without hesitation, opened their mouths, and swallowed a green spirit elixir. They quickly ran their cultivation methods and digested the elixir. After about 15 minutes, a soldier suddenly stood up, raised his head, and laughed. "Ha! I've successfully refined an immortal elixir. I found that my root bone increased by 15 points. That's great." After that, the soldier immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and refined a second green spirit elixir. As for the other soldiers, they looked at him enviously. This guy was really lucky to have increased his root bone by 15 points in one go. But soon, they turned their heads and refined their own green spirit elixirs. Soon, a strong man beside the soldier also stood up and laughed loudly. "Baldy Zheng, I'm not worse than you. I increased my root bone by 16 points. Isn't that great?" "Ha!" Just like that, soldiers continuously stood up and reported their root bone increase loudly. Yichen looked at the big business in the sky and knew that these soldiers had all increased their root bone by 35 to 50 points after taking 3 green spirit elixirs. This was quite good. Some soldiers knelt on the ground with tears streaming down their faces and shouted to the sky, "My root bone has increased. I can cultivate quickly like a normal person. I'm no longer a loser. Your Majesty's great kindness. I'll never forget it. Your Majesty is my second parent. I'm willing to be loyal to the reincarnation dynasty. I'm willing to go through fire and water for your Majesty." Yichen was moved by the unyielding vows that came from the bottom of their hearts. He understood why these warriors were so agitated. Everyone knew what it meant to raise their bone frame by 30 to 50 points. This meant that when they cultivated in the future, their cultivation speed would increase by 30% to 50%. This was a huge improvement. Taking advantage of the abundant spiritual chi in the soldier counting field, those soldiers who had reached the peak but had not broken through immediately broke through to the God martial arts realm with the help of this energy. In the Samsara Legion, those centurions who were originally at the peak of the God martial arts realm were reduced in rank. Many of the commanders had directly broken through the God martial arts realm and reached the tribulation realm. Yichen immediately laughed heartily. He was not stingy with his rewards. As long as they reached the tribulation transcendence realm, he would reward each of them with a set of immortal equipment. The only difference between them and these generals was that they did not have divine equipment or bows. Even so, it was enough to make these middle-level descenders go wild with joy. Zhao Yun, Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, Li Yuanba, and the other generals were even more outstanding, especially these civil officials, who had become even more powerful after their bone frames had been raised. Without Yichen's instructions, they spontaneously maintained the spirit-gathering formation on the soldier counting field so that more warriors could break through during the battle. Among these generals, Dian Wei, Su Chu, Zhang Fei, and Sun Jian, who had the highest combat strength, directly broke through to the Earth immortal realm. With so many people breaking through at the same time, it immediately attracted a violent thunder tribulation. The thunder tribulation, formed by dozens of people, was extremely terrifying. Black clouds as thick as 10,000 feet covered the sky above the sacred city of Samsara. However, Yichen seemed to have encountered something very nutritious. He directly soared into the sky and did not wait for the level 12 Black Lotus of Destruction to show its power. He directly opened his mouth and activated the Devour Heaven and Earth divine ability, swallowing the terrifying thunder tribulation that covered thousands of miles in one gulp. For a moment, the sky was clear and boundless. This made the soldiers dumbfounded. They had never seen such a situation before. His Majesty could actually swallow the thunder tribulation in one gulp. Then, these people who had broken through to the Earth immortal realm flew up and continued to protect their compatriots. Since this was the case, Yi Chun disappeared in a flash and returned to the harem. As soon as he arrived at the harem, he was surrounded by these women. When these women looked at him with eager eyes, Yi Chun laughed and said, "Don't worry. How could I forget my own women? Everyone has a share. Moreover, your things are better than those soldiers in the front hall." Then, Yi Chun took out the equipment and green darkness spiritual fruits that he had specially prepared for these women. "Wow, that's great. I knew that His Majesty would not forget us. I thank His Majesty for his kindness. Ah, this equipment is so beautiful. Is it specially for me? This is the legendary green darkness spiritual pill that can strengthen one's bone structure. It smells so good." Soon, the equipment and green darkness spiritual pills that Yi Chun had taken out were divided among them. Of course, Yi Chun would not be stingy to his own women. Each of these women was given an acquired spiritual treasure and 50 green darkness spiritual pills. Zhao Yu, Diao Chan, Huang Yuang, Empress Hari, and Nana had all broken through to the Earth immortal realm. This also made Yi Chun quite satisfied. To him, these women were not some vases that were only there to look at. They were virtuous helpers that could be used at critical times. Jiang Bufan stayed in the harem for a night and comforted these women. The next day, he appeared in the Samsara city, where the Beauties Alliance was located. Although Zhao Yu and the others were also aware of the existence of the Beauties Alliance, the two sides had miraculously reached a tacit understanding of not interfering with each other. Yesterday, there was such a big commotion in the Samsara city. These women naturally knew that Yi Chun had returned. However, they could suppress the longing in their hearts and did not disturb him. Instead, they waited quietly and anxiously in the station. After Yi Chun appeared in the Beauties Alliance, he was immediately surrounded by a group of beautiful women. "Master, you're finally here. We missed you so much. We thought that you had forgotten about us." "That's right, Master. Please stay with us tonight. Don't leave, okay?" Li Mingyao, Hu Xiaoye, and the others looked at Yi Chun affectionately. They held Yi Chun's arms and led him to the lobby of the Beauties Alliance like stars surrounding the moon. Yi Chun laughed and said, "How could I forget you? I just finished my work and came to see you. By the way, this is a greeting gift for you. Take it." Following which, sets of equipment appear beside every female player of Beauties Alliance. Chapter 1392. Li Mingyao, Hu Xiaoye, Wang Mingming, and the others each received a set of magic treasures, immortal weapons, bows, and arrows, and 12 azure spiritual pills. This treatment was quite generous. Li Mingyao, Hu Xiaoye, Wang Mingming, and the others loved the azure spiritual pills the most. Every Beauties Alliance player's cultivation had reached a certain level. It wouldn't take long for them to reach the human immortal realm. Yi Chun really stayed at the Beauties Alliance's encampment for the past 2 nights. When Yi Chun left the Beauties Alliance's encampment the next day, his footsteps were a little shaky, and Xiaoxi quickly walked in from the outside and knelt on one knee. She said in a crisp voice, "Master, I've been monitoring the Flamingo clan these days. I finally found out that they are actually related to the Crimson Moon Ridge in the Northwest Cloud region. It can be said that other than the Flamingo clan, the other 3 demon clans that attacked us are all under the jurisdiction of the Crimson Moon Ridge. This evidence is enough to prove that the Crimson Moon Ridge is the one who ordered them to attack us." Yi Chun immediately frowned and asked, "Crimson Moon Ridge? Master, the Crimson Moon Ridge has a circumference of 990 million miles. It is vast and boundless. The Crimson Moon King of the Crimson Moon Ridge is said to be a demon god. The Crimson Moon Ridge has 36 demon kings and 4 sky demons under him. There are billions of demons under him. After hearing this, Yi Chen's lips curled into a sinister smile. He sneered and said, "The Crimson Moon King is quite strong. He has 36 demon kings and 4 sky demons under him. Does he think he can do whatever he wants?" When the civil and military officials in the imperial court heard the information and Xiaoxi brought back, they were filled with righteous indignation. The impatient Zhang Fei was the first to stand up. He cupped his fists and said loudly, "Your Majesty, every injustice has its perpetrator. Now that we know who is the mastermind, we can't just sit by and do nothing. I am willing to lead a vanguard to the Crimson Moon Ridge's nest and bring back the Crimson Moon King's head." Guan stood up in time. He raised his long eyebrows and said coldly, "Ida, don't worry. His Majesty has his own arrangements. We just need to follow the orders." Although Zhang Fei was reckless, Guan Yu wasn't. And Xiaoxi had told him clearly that the Crimson Moon Monarch of the Crimson Moon Ridge was a demon god and had 4 heaven demons and 36 demon kings under his command. The Crimson Moon Ridge's nest. If he led a vanguard army to break into the Crimson Moon Ridge's nest, wouldn't he be rushing into the Crimson Moon King's heads? And the Crimson Moon Mountain Demon Kings was ancestors of the Emperor of his, and the of the civil and the military of the Emperor said of thee, and said he of course of my, the of us, and the ofs. Yes, us of world of the night of the ofs. As an Easterner, everyone knew about Yanmen Pass. Yi Chen named it Yanmen Pass, which fully expressed his determination. He would never let a single demon pass through Yanmen Pass. The news that the Samsara dynasty had built a city here was discovered by the spies of the demon tribe and sent back to the Crimson Moon Ridge in time. In a huge palace in the Crimson Moon Ridge, the Crimson Moon King was sitting on a bronze throne. There were 4 sky demons on both sides of him, and 36 demon kings were standing below him. The Red Moon Great King had 2 horns on his head and a gloomy expression on his face. He extended his withered and slender fingers and knocked on the table as he coldly said, "Everyone, you have all heard it. What do you think of the matter of the Northwest Cloud region building a majestic city at the border between us?" One of the demon kings stood out and said indifferently, "Your Majesty, in my opinion, the human tribe in the Northwest Cloud Prefecture is clearly afraid. They think that they can resist our attack by building 2 cities. It's just wishful thinking. Why don't we launch another attack? We'll definitely defeat them." "I don't think so. The human tribe in the Northwest Cloud Prefecture is fierce. Although their cultivation is not good, their equipment is quite good. Don't forget that we lost a lot of people in the probing attack this time. Also, there are those mysterious and horrible killers. Don't forget that the demon tribe in the Northwest Cloud Prefecture was killed by this group of people. That's not right. It's different now. Those idiots in the Northwest Cloud Prefecture are a pile of loose sand. They formed some bullshit alliance. They don't have any fighting power. How can they be compared to our Crimson Moon Ridge? Our Crimson Moon Ridge is under the wise rule of our king. We're like an iron plate. Destroying the Northwest Cloud Prefecture is as easy as taking something out of our pocket." The Crimson Moon King was furious. He slammed the table and said, "Shut up. I'm asking what you think about their city building. Don't talk nonsense with me. If you have any good suggestions, quickly get it to me." Suddenly, the demon kings were as silent as cicadas in winter. They stood there obediently and did not make a sound. At this time, a sky demon beside the Crimson Moon King said, "Your Majesty, why don't we deal with the changes by sticking to the status quo? Let's send 20 million troops to the front line. We won't take the initiative to attack first. Let's see what the human tribe is planning before we make a decision. If they're just bluffing, we'll destroy them in one go. Then, the Northwest Cloud Prefecture will be our territory. It's settled then. Send 20 million troops to the front line." At the Crimson Moon King's order, the 20 million demons immediately stirred up a cloud of dust and rushed to the border of the Northwest Cloud Prefecture. Yichen stood on the high city walls of Yinmen Pass and looked at the smoke and dust that covered the sky and the sun. Although Yinmen Pass was built overnight, it was 10,000 times larger than the largest city in the history of the East. Millions of soldiers were already standing on the high city wall, staring coldly into the distance. Standing at the height of the city wall, even if the flamingos attacked from the sky again, they could easily shoot them down. Yichen gently turned the Chinquin ring on his finger and smiled coldly. Why did he have to wait for 3 days before setting off with the entire army? Firstly, it was to prepare the site for the construction of Yinmen Pass. Secondly, Yi Chun wanted to hatch the nether mantis. This was because after Yi Chun discovered that the nether mantis could be successfully hatched in the untainted world, he ordered a nether mantis to return to the foggy swamp to find Black and bring back 100,000 nether mantis eggs. In 3 days, all 100,000 nether mantis hatched successfully and were fed to be more than 2 meters tall. Nether mantis that were more than 2 meters tall could become invisible successfully. Then, under Yi Chen's command, the 1,000 giant ghost mantises led the 100,000 small ghost mantises into the interior of the Red Moon Territory before the Red Moon Territory Security Organization arrived. Along with them, Yi Chen's mount, the Lava Dragon King, disappeared. Chapter 1393. The Lava Dragon King's character was extremely violent, and his heart was even more evil. Now that he had signed a master-servant contract with Yi Chun, he would only show an obedient and harmless look in front of Yi Chun. Now that he had left Yi Chen's side, he naturally returned to his original nature. Especially since the Lava Dragon King had been imprisoned for 100,000 years, his character had been suppressed to the point of being quite perverted. After temporarily regaining his freedom, he was so ecstatic that he almost went crazy. After the Lava Dragon King arrived at the Crimson Moon Ridge, his eyes glowed with excitement. In his eyes, the Crimson Moon Ridge was simply a paradise for delicious food. The Lava Dragon King's 10,000-meter-long body shook its head and wagged its tail in the sky. In the blink of an eye, it discovered a medium-sized tribe with 100,000 demons. The Lava Dragon King roared excitedly and came to the sky above the tribe. When the demons in the tribe saw the Lava Dragon King, they were all shocked. The chief of the tribe had the highest cultivation. He gathered his courage and flew up, wanting to ask something. He looked at the Lava Dragon King with fear and said, "Your Excellency, what are you doing here? We are the people of the Red Moon King. Please don't make a mistake." After he finished speaking, the Lava Dragon King roared impatiently. "The Red Moon King is nothing. He angered my master and won't live for long. Now, I'm here to collect some interest on behalf of my master. Go to hell, you long-winded guy." Then, the Lava Dragon King opened its mouth and swallowed the leader of the middle-sized tribe. The anxiously waiting clansmen immediately panicked when they saw this scene, and the warriors in the tribe even overestimated their own strength and started to attack the Lava Dragon King. Swords flew into the sky and crazily attacked the Lava Dragon King. Unfortunately, all of this was futile. The attacks of these warriors fell on the Lava Dragon King's body. It was just like scratching an itch. A trace of ferocity flashed in the Lava Dragon King's eyes. Then, he opened his mouth, and a purple fireball the size of a wheel suddenly smashed down. Rumble! After a loud explosion, the entire tribe was thrown into chaos. In the middle of the tribe, the purple fireball had blasted open a huge crater with a radius of several hundred feet and a depth of 20 feet. Many warriors in the tribe had been blown to pieces by this violent explosion. Just this one fireball had taken the lives of over 200 warriors. Not only that, but the houses in the tribe also burned fiercely because of this. The whole tribe panicked. Some of them wanted to rush up and fight with their lives, while others wanted to quietly escape from the tribe and run for their lives. Unfortunately, the Lava Dragon King had already assumed that it was their mistake. How could it let them escape? The Lava Dragon King laughed maniacally. Suddenly, it rushed into the tribe and swallowed more than 30 adult Fae to death with one gulp. He coaxed and intimidated the other demons in the tribe to gather at the huge square in front of the tribe. In less than an hour, all the demons in the tribe had been swallowed by the Lava Dragon King. He burped contentedly and soared into the sky. Turning around, 3 more purple fireballs the size of wheels fell on the ruins of the tribe. Suddenly, with a loud bang, the entire tribe was completely leveled. Awesome. It's really awesome. Days like this are still the best. I hope these blind things will not provoke my master in the future. Then, I will have endless fresh food to eat. After roaring, the Lava Dragon King shook his head and wagged his tail excitedly. He turned into a gust of wind and swept towards the hinterland of the Crimson Moon Ridge. Now, the Demon Kings and heavenly demons of the Crimson Moon Ridge were all gathered on the mountain of the Crimson Moon King. Although there were other Demon Kings in the Crimson Moon Ridge, how could they be a match for the Lava Dragon King? For a while, the Lava Dragon King rampaged in the Crimson Moon Ridge. Wherever it went, people were thrown off their feet and horses were thrown off their feet. Blood flowed like rivers. In the eyes of the demons in the Crimson Moon Ridge, the Lava Dragon King was the most terrifying demon. In just one day, the Lava Dragon King had swallowed hundreds of thousands of demons. Compared to the Lava Dragon King, the more ferocious ones were the nether mantises, who appeared and disappeared mysteriously. Zone could not be seen at all. Under the leadership of the 1,000 giant nether mantises, 100,000 small nether mantises were scattered all over the Crimson Moon Ridge. On average, each giant nether mantis led 100 small nether mantises, and 3 giant nether mantises formed a small team. Now, there were no masters in the Crimson Moon Ridge who could withstand the joint forces of 3 giant nether mantises. As long as the demons in the Crimson Moon Ridge were targeted by these nether mantises, there was no way out except for being exterminated. If a tribe of about 100,000 people was targeted by this group of nether mantises, it would be devoured in less than 4 hours. In the first day of the establishment of Yanmen Pass, the entire 4-year-old demon tribe lost 7 million. Almost 50 medium-sized tribes were completely wiped out from this side of the world. For a time, all the demons became jittery, and everyone was in danger. These demons were also well-informed. They secretly said that the Crimson Moon King had provoked a terrifying enemy. Now that the enemy was blocking the gate, they were here to take revenge. When the news reached the ears of the Crimson Moon King, he immediately flew into a rage. His angry roar spread over a radius of hundreds of miles. The Crimson Moon King roared with a livid face. "Damn humans! They are so cunning. How dare they use such a despicable method? I will not be satisfied until I kill all the humans." The 36 great demon kings did not look good. They were here to listen to the orders of the Crimson Moon King, but there were no masters in their tribes. If the terrifying killer found their tribe, it would be troublesome. After the Crimson Moon King took a few deep breaths, he suddenly turned to look at the other 4 great demon kings and said coldly, "First, kill the demon dragon that is spitting fire everywhere. Hang his head on our mountain and let everyone see the consequences of offending the Crimson Moon Ridge." The 4 great demon kings immediately stood up and bowed. "Don't worry, King. As long as we know the whereabouts of the demon dragon, we will definitely bring his head back to you." After the 4 sky demons finished speaking, they turned into black smoke and disappeared into thin air with a rumble. The Lava Dragon King was arrogant and overbearing. He did not know how to hide his tracks at all. Everywhere he went, he would make a big noise. Chapter 1394. Therefore, it was very easy for the 4 sky demons to find him. Half an hour later, the 4 sky demons locked onto the Lava Dragon King's position. After eating and drinking his fill, the Lava Dragon King was roaming in the clouds, looking for his next target. Suddenly, he stopped and looked around vigilantly. He sneered and said, "For little rats, since you're here, come out. Hiding your head and showing your tail, do you really think you're rats?" Just as the Lava Dragon King finished speaking, ripples suddenly appeared in the surrounding air. 4 guys in black robes appeared from 4 different directions. They were the four sky demons under the Red Moon King. One of the black-robed old men sneered and said, "Evil creature, you've been surrounded by us. You want to break out of our encirclement? That's just a pipe dream. I advise you to surrender immediately." The Lava Dragon King laughed arrogantly and said, "Bah, that's ridiculous. When I was running rampant in the world, you guys weren't even born yet. If you wait until I recover my cultivation, I can kill you all with a breath." The Lava Dragon King, who had been suppressed for more than 100,000 years, was even more unforgiving. His words were so evil that the four sky demons were flushed with anger. Seeing that the Lava Dragon King had no intention of going back on his words, the four of them snorted and attacked the Lava Dragon King. As expected of the four great heavenly demons under the Red Moon King. Not to mention their extraordinary strength, the four of them were also proficient in joint attacks. When the four of them attacked at the same time, they immediately formed a formation that had been tempered thousands of times. After the four of them attacked together, the might of their attacks multiplied. Moreover, they even managed to restrict the Lava Dragon King. When the attacks of the four heavenly demons landed on the Lava Dragon King's body, scales were sent flying and fell like raindrops. The Lava Dragon King screamed in pain. It wanted to break out of the encirclement, but it couldn't do so. The four heavenly demons had sinister smiles on their faces. In their eyes, this was the final struggle of the Lava Dragon King. Lava Dragon King was very depressed. He had always thought that aside from Yi Chun, he was invincible. But today, because of his carelessness, he was surrounded by four sky demons. Originally, the Lava Dragon King had already recovered to the pinnacle of the sky demon realm. Unfortunately, the four sky demons were also at the pinnacle of the sky demon realm. Moreover, they were proficient in joint attacks. Therefore, the Lava Dragon King was careless and fell into their trap. At this moment of life and death, Lava Dragon King couldn't care less about its dignity. It opened its throat and roared desperately, "Master, save me. I can't hold on any longer. Save me." Yi Chun, who was standing on the wall of Yinmen Pass, suddenly frowned. Through the master-servant contract between him and Lava Dragon King, he clearly sensed that Dragon King was in trouble and was asking him for help. But now, the Lava Dragon King was too far away from him. Even if he used the teleportation technique now, it would take some time to rush over. Yi Chun immediately contacted the Nether Mantises near the Lava Dragon King. It was really a coincidence that there was a team of Nether Mantises less than 100 miles away from the Lava Dragon King. After receiving Yi Chun's order, the three giant Nether Mantises immediately rushed in the direction of the Lava Dragon King. The four heavenly beasts had mocking smiles on their faces. The Lava Dragon King had already been beaten to a pulp by them. It wouldn't take long for them to chop off the Lava Dragon King's head. One of the sky demons sneered and said, "Evil creature, you're too arrogant. How dare you come to our Crimson Moon Ridge and behave so atrociously? Today, we must skin you alive and hang your head in front of the palace as a warning to others." The Lava Dragon King's vitality had been greatly damaged, but it was still unforgiving. It roared angrily, "You bastards! How dare you bully an old man like me? If you have the guts, go and argue with my master. I'm now disobeying my master's order. How dare you injure me? You won't be able to bear the consequences. It's just that my cultivation hasn't recovered yet. When my cultivation recovers, I'll swallow you one by one." Tomorrow, they would see that the Lava Dragon King was still so stubborn. Just as they were about to ridicule it, an inexplicable sense of crisis suddenly enveloped them. Three giant machetes, each more than 100 feet long, suddenly stretched out of the void and slashed at the three sky demons. The wind was whistling. The cold air was pressing. The three sky demons' faces suddenly changed. They felt a bloodthirsty aura. Therefore, they stopped attacking the Lava Dragon King and turned around in a panic to block the sudden attack. The Lava Dragon King finally found an opportunity and immediately jumped out of the breach. It used all its strength to run in the direction of Yinmen Pass. It did not forget to turn its head and say to the three Nether Mantises in the void, "Thank you, brothers. I'll take my leave first." After saying that, the Lava Dragon King ran away without any sense of shame. Boom! With a loud bang, the 4 sky demons collided with the attacks of the giant nether mantises. The 3 sky demons' faces changed drastically at the same time. The force was too strong, and they all retreated more than 200 feet at the same time. Who do you think you are to hide? Since you're here, don't think about leaving. However, when they were about to fly into a rage the next day, the 3 giant nether mantises had already disappeared into thin air. Anyway, their mission was to help the Lava Dragon King get out of trouble, not to risk their lives to fight the 4 heavenly demons. If there were more than 10 giant nether mantises here, the 4 sky demons would not be able to escape. Unfortunately, there are only 3 giant nether mantises here. It was not worthwhile to fight with them. The 4 sky demons saw that there was no movement around them and yelled angrily. They looked in the direction the Lava Dragon King escaped and immediately chased after it. They had to carry out the Red Moon King's order. They had to kill the Lava Dragon King, even if they had to run to the end of the world. When the Lava Dragon King saw that the 4 sky demons had caught up, it was furious. It roared in exasperation. "Bastards, continue to follow me if you have the guts." After that, the Lava Dragon King fled frantically while asking Yichun for help. "Master, save me. Those 4 mad dogs are catching up again." Yichun only gave an instruction. "Bring them to Yinmen Pass, and you'll have completed your mission." The Lava Dragon King gritted its teeth and used its amazing speed to the extreme, quickly approaching Yinmen Pass. Chapter 1395. Yichun stood on the city wall of Yinmen Pass with his hands behind his back and his long black hair fluttering in the wind. Above his head, the iron blood flag of the Samsara dynasty was fluttering in the wind. In his divine sense, he had already seen the Lava Dragon King running away frantically, covered in blood, and the 4 divine demons chasing after him. It could be seen that the Lava Dragon King could not hold on any longer. He was exhausted, but a strong desire to survive drove him to keep running away. Yichun stood there with a cold look in his eyes. He had no intention of greeting the Lava Dragon King. Yichun knew very well that the Lava Dragon King, who had been imprisoned for 100,000 years, had not fought with a strong enemy for a long time. This was also an excellent opportunity to let the Lava Dragon King understand the cruelty of war, so that he could recover his strength as soon as possible. At this time, on the city wall of Yinmen Pass, Yichun brought 108 generals, 36 of whom had broken through to the Earth immortal realm. The other 72 were all at the peak of the human immortal realm. The difference between their cultivation base and that of the heavenly demons was too great. If they were to charge forward and fight to the death with the 4 heavenly demons, they would suffer heavy losses. However, if they could ambush the 4 divine demons in advance, they could also catch them off guard and put them in a difficult position or even seriously injure them. Yichun waved his hand, and Huangzhong, the top archer of the 3 kingdoms, strode forward. Huangzhong was also one of the 36 generals who had broken through to the earthly immortal realm. Now, Huangzhong's back was ramrod straight, and he didn't look old at all. He looked like a robust middle-aged man. On Huangzhong's back was a divine artifact, level bow, and arrow. "Your Majesty, what can I do for you?" Yichun glanced at Huangzhong and said, "I'll give you a task. For super powerful experts will come here later. You take the other generals to ambush them. It's up to you how to arrange it. I want you to cause them the greatest damage with 0 casualties on our side." Huangzhong's face was immediately filled with fanaticism. He cupped his fists and said loudly, "Your Majesty, this subordinate will definitely complete the mission." After he finished speaking, Huangzhong turned around and left. As for how he would arrange the troops, that had nothing to do with Yichun. Yichun took a deep breath and immediately mobilized the energy in his body. At that moment, he was already at the peak of the golden immortal realm. He was only 1 step away from breaking through to the Daluo Jinxian. Perhaps these 4 heaven demons would be his opportunity to break through. Before that, He had to teach them a lesson. Although it was said to be late, it was actually fast. In less than 15 minutes, the Lava Dragon King's shadow could be seen in the sky. When Lava Dragon King saw the walls of Yinmen Pass in the distance, it was so excited that it almost cried. He finally came back alive, especially when he saw the figure standing on the city wall like a pine tree. Lava Dragon King cheered, and its body shrank rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it went from 10,000 feet long to as thick as a chopstick. In the blink of an eye, it came to the city wall and landed on Jiang Bufon's shoulder. Lava Dragon King kept complaining to Jiang Bufon, "Master, you don't know. I was almost killed by those shameless guys. If it weren't for the fact that my cultivation hasn't recovered, I wouldn't be afraid of them." Yi Chen coldly glanced at Lava Dragon King and spat out 2 words, "Trash." The Lava Dragon King immediately shrunk his neck and didn't dare to say anything more. He did feel that he was in the wrong. This time, when he went to the other party's territory, he only cared about satisfying his appetite. He didn't improve his cultivation by much. Lava Dragon King flew down from Yi Chen's shoulder dejectedly, then went to a corner to heal its injuries. After this incident, Lava Dragon King also felt a sense of crisis. It knew that Yi Chen didn't keep trash around, but now it really didn't seem to have any sense of existence. Even those stubborn hell mantises seemed to be more useful than it was. Not to mention others, even that girl in Xiaoxi risked her life to spy for Yi Chen. But it was being chased to the end of the world, and it still had to ask its master for help. Yi Chen saw Lava Dragon King sitting there dejectedly to heal its injuries and recover its strength. His face was expressionless. For an old monster like Lava Dragon King, he couldn't be nice to it at all times. At this moment, a terrifying aura enveloped the entire area. The 4 heavenly beasts appeared in the sky 100 miles away from Yinmen Pass. They looked down at Yinmen Pass and tightly frowned. The 4 heavenly beasts jointly released a very strong wave of pressure. This terrifying pressure formed one hurricane after another in the sky, as if it was going to destroy everything in the world. However, after Yinmen Pass was built, it was already a success. Guojia and the others joined forces to set up a dense defensive formation on the city wall. Like a transparent energy shield, it protected the entire Yinmen Pass. Therefore, the defensive formation above Yinmen Pass directly blocked the strong wind outside. Looking at the dense elite warriors of the human clan on the city wall of Yinmen Pass, these warriors were wearing bright armor and holding shiny weapons in their hands. Although the individual strength of each warrior was not high, when they joined forces, a murderous aura soared to the sky. Now, the Red Moon King's order was not for them to attack Yinmen Pass, so the 4 heavenly beasts did not move forward immediately. However, their aura became stronger. One of them, a golden-haired old man who looked like a lion, stood out and said with a thunderous voice, "You human ants, we are the 4 heavenly beasts under the command of the Red Moon King. Who is in charge here?" Yi Chen snorted and said, "I am the emperor of the Samsara dynasty. What do you want to do by trespassing on my border?" Hearing this, the 4 heavenly beasts' eyes lit up, and they looked at Yi Chen unkindly. Yi Chen said, "Are you the emperor of the human clan? In that case, do you know your crime?" Yi Chen's face turned cold. He soared into the sky and stood above Yinmen Pass with his hands behind his back. A terrifying emperor's chi was emitted from his body. He said in a dignified voice, "How dare you uncivilized mountain spirits be so rude to me? Kneel down." After that, Yi Chen's brilliant emperor's chi rolled forward. The 4 heavenly beasts trembled and subconsciously wanted to kneel on the clouds. The emperor's chi on this human was so strong that it was even more powerful than the Red Moon King's. However, the 4 heavenly beasts came to their senses in an instant. Their faces were burning with shame. Just now, they almost knelt down to this human. It was a great shame. Chapter 1396. Damned ant, you deserve to die. Surrender now and follow me back to Crimson Moon Ridge. kowtow and apologize to our king." The four heavenly demons flew into a rage out of humiliation and reached out to grab Yichun. But at this moment, the four sky demons heard a thunderous voice in the void around them. "Generals, this damned beast dares to attack his majesty. Kill them." Immediately after, the four heavenly demons discovered that 108 human generals in full immortal equipment had suddenly appeared around them. They did not know how these human generals hid in the void so that they did not notice them. However, when they sensed the cultivation bases of these cultivators, the corners of the four heavenly Yao's mouths curled into disdainful smiles. There was a gap of several realms between them. They could kill these ants with one hand. But at this moment, the 108 generals of the Samsara dynasty, led by Huang Zhong, drew their bows at the same time. A terrifying aura immediately locked onto the four sky demons. The 108 generals were wielding divine artifact bows and arrows. Bang! After hearing a soft sound, Ming Tian's complexion changed instantly. They felt the space around them shake violently. Then 108 arrows broke through the void and shot towards them in an instant. The speed of these arrows was too fast, leaving behind ripples in the air. When they sensed the amazing sharpness of these black arrows, the four heavenly demons felt their hair stand on end. Damn it! These human experts all had divine tool level bows and arrows in their hands. Those were divine tool level bows and arrows. They cannot be found in the entire Crimson Moon Ridge. But in the hands of these human generals, they were like weeds on the side of the road. At the same time, the four heavenly demons' eyes shone with greed. If they could snatch these human generals' bows, they would be rich. But now, the first thing they had to do was to rush to the human general's side. The wind howled. Streaks of ferocious cold light broke through the void and appeared beside them in the blink of an eye. The sharp arrows exploded instantly, bursting out a mass of terrible lethality. With the four heaven phase cultivation, it was not difficult for them to dodge the arrows. The difficult part was that these bows and arrows were all divine artifacts. Their speed and power had reached the pinnacle. Another point was that these archers were veterans of hundreds of battles. They had incomparably rich experience in fighting against experts. The angles of their arrows were incomparably tricky, and their coordination was as if they had worked together thousands of times. Every arrow landed on the four heavenly Yao's most uncomfortable spots. After the first round of arrows, they would be in an extremely sorry state the next day. Their bodies were drenched in cold sweat. Although their heavenly demon bodies were incomparably tough, they still couldn't withstand the barrage of divine artifact arrows. Before they could catch their breath, the second round of shooting began again. This time, it was not a volley of shots, but an indiscriminate free shooting. Under the command of Huang Zhong, the 108 experienced super generals stared at the four heavenly demons like patient hunters. The sharp arrows in his hands were like venomous snakes, continuously shooting at them. This was an assassination operation that had been planned long ago with ulterior motives. One arrow after another tore through the void with unparalleled speed, causing the four heavenly Yao to anxiously dodge. However, there were a few arrows that seemed to come alive, following them like shadows, chasing after their souls. Suddenly, a heavenly Yao screamed. His thick thigh was pierced by an arrow, leaving a fist-sized hole. Blood immediately spurted out. The heavenly Yao immediately staggered and nearly fell to the ground. Fortunately, another heavenly Yao beside him caught him in time. At this moment, the sword chi around them were still shooting wildly. It was like a torrent of death. The wind howled as it shot at them. Another heavenly Yao was caught off guard and had his shoulder pierced by a sword. The heavenly Yao felt an unbearable pain. His vision turned black, and he nearly fainted. If not for the fact that he was focusing all his energy on dealing with the arrows, he would have cursed out loud. These despicable and shameless humans dared to put poison on the arrowheads. Seeing that the four heavenly Yao were finally injured, the 108 generals became even more spirited. Their hands moved even faster, shooting out more than a dozen arrows in an instant. In an instant, the sword chi in the sky kept breaking through the airwaves. In fact, the two injured Heavenly Yao were shot by Huangzhong. Huangzhong's archery had reached a miraculous level. He often appeared out of thin air at unbelievable angles and speeds. The four Heavenly Yao panted violently as a feeling of extreme fear rose in their hearts. Through the void, they saw those human experts glaring at them with vicious eyes. In an instant, the four Heavenly Yao even thought of the vicious wolves that hunted everywhere in the wilderness. These human experts were like cunning and cruel wolves, constantly harassing and attacking. When they saw an opportunity, they would pounce on them and tear their throats. Yichen narrowed his eyes slightly as he watched what was happening in front of him. He was very satisfied. He did not expect that Huangzhong could arrange this ambush so seamlessly. Of course, the 108 generals were able to ambush in the void in advance because of some master-level invisibility talismans that Yi Chun gave them, which played a key role. After only half an hour, the four heavenly demons were in a sorry state. Their bodies were riddled with holes by the arrows, and their blood was spilling out from the sky like it was free. One of the Heavenly Yao's chest had been pierced, causing blood to spurt out. Another Heavenly Yao's protective barrier had been shattered. His avatar was like glass, filled with cracks, as though it would explode at any moment. The four Heavenly Yao kept roaring. Their hair was disheveled, and they were in an extremely sorry state. They were about to go crazy. Under the pressure of the arrows, they could not rush over it all. It was not that the four Heavenly Yao did not think of escaping. In fact, at the first moment of the fight, they knew that things were not going well and wanted to leave. Unfortunately, they could not escape at all. Every time they tried to escape, they would be collectively targeted and usher in a storm of attacks. After a period of cooperation, the cooperation between these human experts had become more and more tacit. Each of their attacks contained a shocking killing intent, and each of their shots became accurate and fierce. The moment the arrows were shot, a thunderous roar sounded in the ears of the four Heavenly Yao. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 1397. Smoke and dust blotted out the sun. Explosions continued all around. The arrows even blew up a small mountain in the distance. Rocks rolled, and the mountain was torn apart. The four demons crazily roared. "Human Emperor, fight us to the death if you have the guts. What kind of hero are you when you outnumber us?" At this time, the Lava Dragon King had finally recovered from some of its injuries. Seeing the scene, it felt very relieved. It laughed heartily and immediately jumped up and roared, "Bah, you bastards! Now you know how to fight one-on-one. Why didn't you say this when the four of you shamelessly besieged this daddy? Generals, good job. Keep shooting and kill these four sons of bitches." Magma Flame Dragon King kept jumping up and down, spitting out extremely vicious curses. The four heavenly demons were so angry that they wanted to kill Magma Flame Dragon King, even if they had to die together. Yichen saw that the training was about done, so he slowly stepped forward and waved his sleeve. "If that's the case, as you wish. Generals, listen up, stop attacking, and return to the city." "Yes, your majesty," the 108 generals shouted at the same time. Then they flashed across the sky like lightning and reappeared on top of the city wall. They stared at the four demons as if they wanted to continue. Chun Gong, Jia Su, and the other strategists seemed to be in deep thought. Perhaps they had discovered a new tactic. Yichen gave the order, and everything calmed down. The sky regained its tranquility, but the four heavenly demons were still in a state of shock. It was impossible for them to pretend that nothing had happened. Even now, there were still streaks of white marks left behind by those sharp swords in the void. Compared to when they first arrived, the four heavenly demons were now in a miserable state. Their eyes were bloodshot like mad dogs. The most seriously injured heavenly demon had half of its body torn apart. Blood constantly spurted out from the wound, making it look extremely horrifying. One of the heavenly demons even had its head pierced through by an arrow. This made Yi Chun quite impressed with the vitality of these heavenly demons. If they were humans, they would have died long ago. There was nothing to say to these guys. Yi Chun couldn't wait for them to recover. He held the Godslayer in his hand and charged at them. When the four heavenly monsters saw Yi Chun charging at them single-handedly, they were in disbelief at first. Then they laughed mockingly. This damned leader of the human race is too stupid. If he ignored us and let those human race experts continue to shoot, we would be dead for sure. Now he dares to charge at us recklessly. He is courting death. As long as we can take down this human race emperor, the human race will collapse without us having to do anything. After saying that, the four demons roared and charged at Yi Chun. In their opinion, Yi Chun's cultivation was one realm lower than theirs. Although the four of them were injured, it would be easy for them to deal with Yi Chun if they joined forces. Unfortunately, they knew they were wrong as soon as they started fighting. They were wrong beyond belief. Yi Chun's movements were swift and overbearing. The Godslayer in his hand carried a terrifying power that could steal souls. The four heavenly monsters immediately understood that if they were pierced by Yi Chun's spear, the feeling would definitely not be easy. Just like that, Yi Chun laughed wildly in the sky as he battled the four heavenly demons. His strength was so great that it was explosive and ferocious. Terrifying strength chi overflowed in all directions. It was like a sudden clap of thunder on the ground. The sound of thunder exploded in the sky one after another. Moreover, the terrifying astral winds continued to sweep across the sky. These astral winds were stirring up and sweeping across the sky. Even though they were more than 100 miles away, they still caused the protective shield of Yinmen Pass to suffer an extremely violent impact. The faces of the heavenly Yao grew increasingly ugly. They realized that they had severely underestimated Yi Chun. That was especially true of the god-slaying spear in his hand. Yi Chun's god-slaying spear was capable of devouring souls and destroying primordial spirits. The four demons even heard waves of ghostly wails and howls, which made them tremble in fear. They secretly looked at each other, turned around at the same time, and roared, "Run!" The four of them understood that although Yi Chun was alone, he was more terrifying than the 108 experts. They had to escape quickly and return to inform the Red Moon King of the information here. Only the Red Moon King could quell this turmoil if he personally took action. How could Yi Chun let them leave alive when the meat was already in his mouth? With a poochie sound, Yi Chun's Godslayer directly pierced through the back of a demon's head and came out of his mouth. At the same time, the terrifying power of the Godslayer suddenly erupted. The demon's body trembled like a sieve. Almost in an instant, his soul and primordial spirit were directly devoured by the Godslayer. Then, Yi Chun shook the body of the divine spear. The shriveled body of the demon immediately turned into a pile of ashes and disappeared between heaven and earth. Yi Chun did the same and continued forward, stabbing another demon to death with his spear. Dying under Yi Chun's Godslayer was impossible for them to recover like being hit by an ordinary divine weapon. They could only end up with their souls scattered. The moment they decided to escape, their fates were already sealed. Yi Chun's speed was far, far superior to theirs. Just like that, he casually traversed through the void, killing the heavenly Yao one after another. There was only one Heaven Fei left. Although tomorrow Fei's thigh had been penetrated, his will to live made him run the fastest. When he realized that his three companions had been killed by Yi Chun one by one and was now following behind him unhurriedly, the demon collapsed. The heavenly demon immediately broke down. She suddenly turned around and knelt on the ground with a plop. She kowtowed like she was pounding garlic and begged, "Your Majesty, please spare my life. Your Majesty, please spare my life. This lowly one has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai and offended your Majesty. I am willing to surrender and follow your Majesty from now on." Yi Chun's expression did not change at all. He held the Godslayer in his hand to the demon's throat and asked coldly, "Let me ask you, what is the cultivation of the Red Moon King of the Red Moon Ridge?" The heavenly demon rolled his eyes and said, "Your Majesty, if I tell you the truth, will you spare my life?" Yi Chen said coldly, "It depends on my mood." The demon still wanted a bargain, but Yi Chen was already impatient. He slowly pushed the God Slayer in his hand forward. Immediately, a stream of red blood flowed down the demon's neck. The demon immediately said in horror, I'll tell you everything. Our Red Moon King's cultivation is at the peak of the Sky Demon realm. He has yet to break through to the Fey Immortal realm, but even if we were to join forces tomorrow, we would not be his match." Yi Chen nodded after hearing that. He looked at him coldly and pierced the demon's neck with the God Slayer. Chapter 1398. Yi Chen's eyes were cold and emotionless. After he killed the 4 heavenly demons, a system announcement suddenly sounded in the World Channel. System announcement. Congratulations to the player for successfully killing 4 heavenly demons. The player is rewarded with 6 million Supreme Grade Immortal Stones, 78,640,000 experience points, and 600,000 innate attribute points. We hope the player will continue to work hard. At the same time, a system notification sounded in Yi Chen's mind. Congratulations to the player for reaching the requirements of Daluo Jingxian. The player is about to undergo the tribulation. Please be prepared. Yi Chen's lips curled into a smile. Then his smile grew wider and wider. He could not help but laugh out loud. After waiting for so long, it was finally time for him to break through the Daluo Jingxian. Then, Yi Chen soared into the sky, opened his arms, and stood in the sky without any scruples. He let out a roar that shook the sky. Come, let the lightning tribulation come more violently. I have been waiting for this for a long time. On the city wall of Yinmen Pass, the officials and generals of the Samsara dynasty were shocked when they saw Yi Chen's behavior. They looked up at the dark clouds in the sky that were getting denser and denser, and the flashing lightning in the dark clouds. Is His Majesty going to undergo the tribulation? Is His Majesty going to break through again? A hint of excitement flashed in everyone's eyes. If Yi Chen continued to break through, he would be a golden immortal. Regardless of whether it was the civil officials or the generals, none of them were worried about the terrifying thunder tribulation that they were about to face. To Yi Chen, the thunder tribulation was nothing. As expected, the Daluo Jingxian tribulation that had been brewing for a long time came. It was indeed the Daluo Jingxian tribulation. It was 10 times more powerful than the previous golden immortal tribulation. However, this was not a problem for Yi Chen. He activated the Swallow the Heavens and Devour the Earth ability, forming a gigantic black hole that covered several hundred miles around him. He lazily devoured these lightning bolts. To him, these lightning bolts were precious tonics. Rumble. Black and red thunderbolts rained down from the sky. The tremendous power caused the mountains within a radius of thousands of miles to tremble. If it was an ordinary demonic beast, it would have been turned into ashes long ago. However, for Yi Chen, it was just an appetizer. Being able to break through to the Daluo Jingxian level meant that the power of his devouring heaven and earth ability had increased tremendously. Gradually, Yi Chen was no longer satisfied with the speed of the lightning tribulation. He simply soared into the sky like a dazzling golden light, directly rushing into the clouds that were thousands of miles thick. The Swallow the Heavens and Devour the Earth divine ability seemed to have come alive. Countless tentacles stretched out and pulled in all directions, devouring all of the black clouds. This time, the thunder tribulation seemed to have encountered a great provocation. It became even angrier. Countless black clouds constantly emerged from the sky, filled with immortal thunderbolts. These black clouds in the sky constantly emitted a bloodthirsty red light and a loud rumbling sound. Just looking at it from a distance, one could feel a great danger. In Yi Chen's mind, he suddenly heard a system prompt. Due to the provocation of the player, the Daluo Jingxian tribulation has automatically increased in power. It has now become the Pangu tribulation. Yi Chen's heart skipped a beat. So it has become the most dangerous and terrifying Pangu tribulation? Although he had heard of it before, it was the first time he had encountered it. But so what? Yi Chun directly summoned the grade 12 Black Lotus of Devastation. He could not devour this feast by himself. It was better to enjoy this feast together with the grade 12 Black Lotus of Devastation. Therefore, the 12th grade Black Lotus of World Destruction also quickly extended its fangs around Yi Chun. The 12th grade Black Lotus of World Destruction and Yi Chun's swallow the heavens and devour the earth superimposed on each other. The power of the 12th grade Black Lotus of World Destruction increased by more than 10 times. It was like a competition between the two, desperately devouring the black tribulation clouds and the terrifying thunderbolts. The 12th grade Black Lotus of World Destruction was also rapidly increasing. The swallow the heavens and devour the earth divine ability was also rapidly upgrading. On the city wall of Yinmen Pass, looking at the thunder tribulation that had suddenly become more violent, Chung Gong asked worriedly, "Everyone, look. This seems to be the most terrifying Panga tribulation of the thunder tribulation. Will His Majesty be okay?" Jia Su shook his head gently and said, "His Majesty's actions have always been unpredictable and untraceable. It's not something ordinary people like us can speculate. We can only wait here quietly and not cause trouble for His Majesty." Guo waved his feather fan and said, "Immediately send out 20 scouts to spread out. At this critical moment, we must not let anyone with ulterior motives cause trouble for His Majesty." Dianwei stood up and said sternly, "Military advisor, don't worry. Leave this to me. Anyone who dares to cause trouble for His Majesty at this moment is my enemy." Afterward, the Samsara Legion poured out in full force and spread out over 1,000 miles. Every soldier had a bloodthirsty look in their eyes as they killed all the demonic beasts in this area. This area was surrounded by them like an iron bucket. Anyone who wanted to rush in would have to step over their corpses first. They all knew that Yi Chun was the only god in the Samsara dynasty. As long as Yi Chun was in the Samsara dynasty, the Samsara dynasty would exist. If Yi Chun was not in the Samsara dynasty, the Samsara dynasty would cease to exist. Therefore, they had to protect His Majesty and their beliefs at all costs. Yi Chun was now fighting against the terrifying thunder tribulation that had become Panga tribulation with all his strength. At this moment, the sky had turned into a huge thunder tribulation. Yi Chun also noticed that the power of the thunder tribulation around him had increased by more than 10 times. Purple thunderbolts as thick as buckets had joined together and enveloped him like a cage of death. And it was not just one layer. A dense and overlapping huge net quickly enveloped him. The efficiency of the Devour the Heavens and the Earth Divine Power and the 12th grade Black Lotus of Destruction had been maximized. It devoured the thunder tribulation and thunderbolts violently. It was too late to refine and absorb them now. It just swallowed them and hid them in the Black Lotus of Destruction, waiting for time to refine them. Yi Chun's face was grave. He was no longer as careless as before. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. It was not easy for the Panga tribulation to kill him. With a wave of his hand, millions of supreme-grade immortal stones were sucked into his mouth. Then, the millions of supreme-grade immortal stones turned into surging energy and exploded in his body, supporting the Devour the Heavens, Devour the Earth. It was as if the Devour the Heavens had been injected with a stimulant. Chapter 1399. All of a sudden, its range expanded to about 1,000 miles, encircling the tribulation lightning and rapidly devouring it along with the Black Lotus of Destruction. Facing Yi Chun's endless means, the Panga tribulation was powerless. No matter how much energy it exerted, it was all devoured by the opponent. Yi Chun's divine ability of swallow the heavens and devour the earth, and the damn Black Lotus of Destruction were like a black hole that could never be filled. No matter how hard the Panga tribulation tried, it was of no avail. In this way, the two sides engaged in a protracted tug of war. First, they had to see who could not hold on. Whoever could not hold on would lose miserably. Yi Chun had already devoured millions of top-grade immortal stones for the 5th time. He did not panic. After all, there were still plenty of such top-grade immortal stones in his Chinquan ring. A few days ago, and Xiaoxi brought him another batch of top-grade immortal stones from the Misty Swamp. In the Misty Swamp, Xiaohei's subordinates dug like crazy day and night. As long as Xiaohei controlled the Misty Swamp, Yi Chun would have an endless supply of top-grade immortal stones. After Yi Chun had devoured tens of millions of top-grade immortal stones, the Panga tribulation finally could not hold on any longer. It seemed to have exhausted all its energy and was devoured in the blink of an eye. The dark clouds in the sky dispersed, and the sky became clear again. Yi Chun's cultivation suddenly skyrocketed in an instant, and the aura on his body became extremely terrifying again. For a moment, Yi Chun felt that his cultivation was much stronger than before, and the range of his divine sense had expanded by more than 10 times. However, this was not the end. A system prompt suddenly rang in Yi Chun's mind. Congratulations to player for successfully overcoming the Pangu tribulation. Player's cultivation has automatically changed from Daluo Jinxian to Primordial Daluo Jinxian. Congratulations to player. Yi Chun was stunned. It was Primordial Daluo Jinxian? Wasn't it said that after overcoming the tribulation, it would be Daluo Jinxian? Why was there a Daluo Jinxian in between? But who cares? It seemed to sound very powerful. Immediately after that, countless streams of worldly spiritual energy swarmed over, seemingly forming a massive black hole of spiritual energy in the sky within a radius of 5,000 li. The streams of spiritual energy surged madly into Yi Chun's body. After a long time, Yi Chun finally stopped absorbing the surging world energy. He could feel the surging strength within his body, and he finally opened his chest and laughed heartily. The courtiers and generals on the wall of Yinmen Pass breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. They looked at Yi Chun, who was hovering in midair like a god, and all of them dropped to their knees spontaneously. They looked at the only god in their eyes with fanaticism and roared loudly. "Congratulations, Your Majesty! Congratulations, Your Majesty! Your Majesty is both cultured and virtuous, and you will unify the world for 1,000 years." Seeing that Yi Chun had finished his tribulation, Dianwei quickly led all the warriors of the Samsara Legion back to Samsara City. At this time, in the World Channel, all the players had yet to recover from the shock of Yi Chun killing 4 heavenly demons. The World Channel was silent. After a while, someone asked weakly, "Can anyone explain to me what kind of demon is a heavenly demon? Why would there be a World Channel announcement for Yi Chun killing a heavenly demon? You idiot, you really don't know anything. A heavenly demon is more powerful than a demon king. 10 demon kings may not be able to defeat a heavenly demon. If you really want to compare, it should be similar to Daluo Jinxian. In other words, God Yi Chun killed for Daluo Jinxian by himself. Do you understand now? Oh my god, is it really that amazing? God Yi Chun killed 4 Daluo Jinxian demons by himself. But if I remember correctly, God Yi Chun is also a golden immortal. Even Ma Yueji's challenge was not as exaggerated as this. This is why he is a god, and we are rookies. But I guess even if God Yi Chun did not break through to Daluo Jinxian, he is not far from it. At this time, another system announcement sounded in the World Channel. System announcement. Congratulations to player Yi Chun for successfully passing Panga's tribulation. In order to break through to Primordial Daluo Jinxian, player Yi Chun is specially rewarded with 1 million innate attribute points, 20 million top-grade immortal stones, and 30 million experience points. The system announcement was broadcasted 3 times in a row in the World Channel. The entire World Channel was silent. After a while, someone finally broke the silence. "Sorry, I am a newbie. Can anyone tell me what Primordial Daluo Jinxian is? Why have I never heard of it? I'm also a newbie. I also want to ask, what is Primordial Daluo Jinxian? Damn it, isn't it simple? You can understand it literally. Primordial sounds very powerful. It must be more powerful than Daluo Jinxian. As expected of God Yi-chun, Daluo Jingxian, I have decided that after I ascend, I will follow God Yi-chun. You'd better give up. You don't know how long it will take for you to ascend. Maybe Minister Yi-chun has already broken through to the Sage Realm. Besides, God Yi-chun's Samsara dynasty is full of elites and fierce generals. Who do you think you are? Why should he follow you? Stop arguing. What's so great about Yi-chun? We are all players. Why should we follow him? In my opinion, he is just a little luckier than us. It's just that I haven't had the chance. When I have the chance, I will be much more powerful than him. The person above is an idiot. Identification complete. I'm going to sleep. The person above is an idiot +1. Soon, the World Channel quieted down. Yi-chun did not care about the debate in the World Channel. He carefully sensed the majestic energy in his body before he landed lightly on the wall of Yanmen Pass. The civil officials and generals on both sides immediately came over. Jia Su quickly asked, "Your Majesty, how do you feel? Do you need to rest?" Yi-chun laughed and said, "Not at all. I'm very good now. I have never been better. Now that I have broken through, this farce should be over. You guys stay at Yanmen Pass. I will be back soon." Then Yi-chun waved his hand. Lava Dragon King immediately flew over obediently and lay on the ground. Then Yi-chun flew up. Lava Dragon King roared and immediately flew towards Crimson Moon Ridge. Lava Dragon King was very proud at this time. He could feel the surging and terrifying power in Yi-chun's body. Lava Dragon King was very excited. His thoughts were very simple. If Yi-chun was powerful, then he was powerful too. This time, he would be proud of himself. Chapter 1400. After Yi-chun had broken through to the primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian, his mind sense could cover a wider area. At this time, he could clearly feel that the nether mantises in the Crimson Moon Ridge were crazily slaughtering. These nether mantises came and went like a shadow. They had already turned the entire Crimson Moon Ridge upside down. Demon tribes were all destroyed by these nether mantises. Moreover, these nether mantises had a very good appetite and were not picky at all. No matter what cultivation level, as long as these demons condensed demonic chi, they would all be devoured by them. Now, the number of demons devoured by the nether mantises had reached tens of millions, and the size of the 100,000 small nether mantises had also increased to about 200 feet. The overall upgrade of the nether mantis team had brought about an earth-shattering change in their combat power. The most obvious change was that their efficiency had increased too quickly. A demon tribe with hundreds of thousands of people would be devoured by these nether mantises in less than an hour, leaving not even a speck of dust. Of course, there were demon kings and some demon tribes, but they could only delay a little and could not change the outcome. 3 giant nether mantises were enough to deal with 2 demon kings. In addition, the small nether mantises that were hiding in the air and appearing and disappearing mysteriously made these demon tribes suffer. In the palace where the great king of the Crimson Moon Ridge was overseeing, information was constantly being sent in from outside. The great king of the Crimson Moon Ridge frowned more and more, and the anger in his body was burning. When he saw the heavy losses of the Crimson Moon Ridge, he was heartbroken. Of course, he was not too sad about the deaths of the weak demon tribes, but if this continued, the entire demon tribe of the Crimson Moon Ridge would be wiped out. Then, wouldn't he, the great king of the Crimson Moon Ridge, be without an army? Now, the 36 demon kings were sitting on pins and needles. They were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. They did not know what the great king of the Crimson Moon Ridge had received, nor did they know if their tribes had been attacked by those terrifying killers. However, the only good news was that the demon dragon that was causing trouble in the Crimson Moon Ridge had been chased by 4 sky demons all the way to the border with the Northwest Cloud region. It probably wouldn't be long before he could bring back the head of that damned demonic dragon. If that was the case, he might be able to raise the morale of his side. As for those elusive nether mantises, he would need the Red Moon King to personally deal with them. Red Moon Monarch abruptly stood up, and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. The 46 Yao Kings immediately bowed and revealed looks of respect. Red Moon Monarch was a pinnacle heavenly Yao. He was just one step away from breaking through to the Yao celestial stage. To be more precise, the Crimson Moon King was a half-step demon god. The Red Moon Great King's voice was as unpleasant as a steel knife scraping across an iron pot. These damn things that hide their heads and show their tails. How dare they cause trouble in my territory? I will personally go and catch them one by one and throw them into the frying pan. The 36 demon kings hurriedly knelt on the ground and flattered. Your Majesty is wise and mighty. With you personally taking action, these clowns won't be able to jump around for long. That's right. These damn humans are short-sighted. How can they understand the terror of your Majesty? Once your Majesty takes action, these humans will realize that they have made a stupid mistake. To have your Majesty personally take action, these damned humans will die with honor. The Red Moon King seemed to enjoy the flattery of his subordinates. He narrowed his eyes and felt extremely proud. However, he was also dissatisfied that there were too few capable people around him. It was too much for him to personally take action. After he broke through to the Yao celestial stage, he would definitely change all the Yao Kings to heavenly Yao. When the Red Moon King arrived at the entrance of the palace, he suddenly frowned. He felt a terrifying fluctuation coming from the direction of the northwest cloud region. The Red Moon King immediately understood that someone was undergoing a tribulation. Furthermore, it was a Daluo Jinxian tribulation. Then, the Red Moon King sneered. Could it be that someone from the reincarnation dynasty in the northwest cloud region is about to break through to the Daluo Jinxian? But so what? I'm already at the pinnacle of heavenly Yao. Even if there's an expert who has broken through to the Daluo Jinxian, it is not enough. Moreover, the 4 heavenly Yao under me are already heading in that direction. The Red Moon Monarch even had a wicked thought. He wondered if the human clan expert, who had just broken through to the Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal Realm, would cry out of fright when he suddenly found 4 more heavenly demon realm experts beside him. The Red Moon Monarch couldn't help but laugh. Although the 36 demon monarchs behind him didn't know what the Red Moon Monarch was laughing about, they were somewhat frightened by the faint sound of thunder in the distance. Before the Red Moon King finished laughing, he suddenly felt that the Daluo Jinxian tribulation seemed to have leveled up again. The terrifying thunder tribulation wave cave made even him tremble. He finally withdrew his smile and frowned. He secretly pondered in his heart. What had those damned humans done to deserve such a great thunder tribulation? But that was fine. That damned human expert deserved it. He was afraid that he would be annihilated by this terrifying thunder tribulation. Thunderous booms could be heard from afar. The Red Moon King could still clearly feel the terrifying power contained within. The legs of the 36 demon kings were already trembling. If not for the Red Moon King standing in front of them and forcefully supporting their bodies, they would have been lying on the ground. At this time, Yi-chan was riding on a Lava Dragon King and flying quickly over the Red Moon Ridge. Although Yi-chan's speed was faster, he still enjoyed the feeling of riding on the Lava Dragon King. Moreover, he could understand the situation of the Red Moon Ridge in more detail. In his divine sense, he could see that one demon tribe after another was constantly passing by. Some of the demon tribes were filled with smoke and cries. Those nether mantises were killing calmly and cruelly at an extremely fast speed. These nether mantises were emotionless. They were as cold as killing machines. They killed and devoured their enemies at the highest efficiency to strengthen their bodies. Yi-chen's expression did not change. His heart was incomparably cold. In his heart, these demons deserved to die. It was their honor and their only value to be turned into nourishment for these nether mantises. Otherwise, after he ruled the Red Moon Ridge, he would have to send troops to conquer these demons. This would save him a lot of trouble. Moreover, Yi-chen had a better plan through this incident. He would use the nether mantises as the vanguard to constantly expand his territory. First, he would let the nether mantises cause havoc in the territories of the demon tribe. Then, The generals of the Samsara dynasty would lead their elite troops to invade the territories of the demon tribe and take over the territories of the demon tribe. P.S. I wish all my readers a happy spring festival and a happy family. Chapter 1401. However, he was not in a hurry. After all, the number of people in the reincarnation dynasty was too limited. He had to quickly develop the population of the reincarnation dynasty. Otherwise, no matter how much territory he occupied, it would be useless without manpower to station it. Yi Chen's divine sense had already locked onto a place, which was the palace of the Red Moon King. As long as he killed the Red Moon King, there would be no suspense. Originally, Yi Chen had planned to use the previous tactic to exhaust the enemy first before he attacked. However, now that he had broken through to the Chaos Luo Golden Immortal Realm, he did not need to use these tactics to deal with the Red Moon Great King, who was at the peak of the Heavenly Demon Realm. He could just crush the enemy directly. The Red Moon King frowned and only heaved a sigh of relief after the Pangu tribulation disappeared. The Pangu tribulation just now was too terrifying, and he did not dare to take the risk. However, he was certain that the human expert who went through the tribulation had already been turned into ashes. No one could survive such a terrifying lightning tribulation. At the same time, it also served as a warning to the Red Moon King. If he wanted to break through to the Demon God realm, the lightning tribulation would definitely be extremely terrifying. He had to be prepared in advance so that he wouldn't fail. If he died in the lightning tribulation, it would be too much of a pity. The Red Moon King flung his sleeves and flew up into the sky. He said arrogantly, "I will go and quell the chaos in the Red Moon Ridge immediately. I will also capture the human emperor and see what kind of person he is." The 36 demon kings knelt on the ground again. They shouted, "Your Majesty, you will definitely win if you personally take action. Capturing the human emperor will be as easy as taking something out of your pocket. However, it is a waste of your talents. It is a pity that your subordinates are stupid and cannot share your burden. Your Majesty, you have worked hard." The Red Moon King snorted in his heart. He thought to himself, "You know that you are useless. After I break through to the Demon Immortal Realm, it will be your turn." Just as he turned around to go to the Red Moon Ridge to capture the Nether Mantises, he suddenly saw a huge creature that was 10,000 meters long in the distance. It was a demon dragon, and it was rushing over. The Red Moon King was stunned. Why did this demonic dragon look similar to the demonic dragon that was causing trouble in the Red Moon Ridge? But wasn't that the Red Moon King going to catch him tomorrow? At this moment, the Red Moon Great King's eyes suddenly narrowed. He saw an imposing young man standing on the head of the demonic dragon, coldly staring at him. The young man's eyes were cold and cruel, and the aura around him was wild and boiling. Seeing that young man, Red Moon King felt an extreme chill in his heart. Before Red Moon King could speak, Lava Dragon King sneered at Red Moon King. "Are you Red Moon King? Why aren't you kneeling and kowtowing when you see my master? What a rude barbarian." The Crimson Moon King had recovered from his shock. He stared coldly at the Lava Dragon King and said viciously, "You must be the demonic dragon that has been causing trouble in our Crimson Moon Ridge. Haven't my 4 subordinates already gone to capture you? How did you escape from their hands?" The Lava King and the Fire Dragon King paused for a second, then laughed out loud and said, "Red Moon King, are you talking about those 4 shameless old things? They are really shameless. Taking advantage of the fact that I haven't recovered my cultivation, they actually bullied me with numbers. However, those 4 old men have already received their due punishment. They have been killed by my master." Red Moon King's eyes suddenly narrowed, and he subconsciously said, "Impossible. You demonic dragon must be talking nonsense. My subordinates are all heavenly demons. Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue?" Lava Dragon King curled his lips in disdain. Then he turned to Yi Chun and said, "Master, look, I am telling the truth. This old thing doesn't believe me at all. You should teach him a lesson." Hearing Lava Dragon King's words, Red Moon King immediately locked his eyes on Yi Chun. Was this guy really the demonic dragon's master? This demonic dragon was obviously a heavenly demon. If he could be its master, wouldn't he be even more powerful? This guy clearly had the aura of Daluo Jinxian. Thinking of the terrifying thunder tribulation just now, Red Moon King seemed to have understood something. He pointed at Yi Chun and said, "It's you. Was it you who was crossing the tribulation just now? Did you just break through to Daluo Jinxian?" Yi Chun looked at Red Moon King and sneered. "You have some good eyesight. I was indeed crossing the tribulation just now. I am the emperor of the Samsara dynasty. My name is Yi Chun. This time I am here to settle things with you." "What? You are the emperor of the Samsara dynasty? Haha, there's a road to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Since you are here, don't think about leaving alive." Red Moon King was stunned at first, but then he laughed loudly. He had never dreamed that the emperor of the Samsara dynasty dared to come to his headquarters alone. This was a great thing. As long as he could control the emperor of the Samsara dynasty, wouldn't it mean that the Northwestian Zhou would be his territory? The 36 great Yao Kings behind Red Moon Great King soared into the sky and stood behind Red Moon Great King. Each of them looked at Yi Chun with an unfriendly expression. One of the demon kings said fawningly, "Your Majesty, you are really lucky. Heaven knows that you're going to find the emperor of the human tribe. It is really wonderful that he sent himself to you. That's right. Your Majesty, there are only 2 of them at most. You should take a rest and leave them to us." The 36 demon kings rubbed their fists and were ready to fight. Perhaps they did not dare to go to the Samsara dynasty, but this was their headquarters. They had an absolute advantage. In addition, the 36 of them could deal with the 2 of them. No matter how powerful the 2 of them were, they would not be a match for them. Yi Chun's lips curled into a cold smile. He shook the god-killing spear in his hand, pointed it forward, and said, "My time is precious. Red Moon Great King, you and these 36 pieces of trash can come at me together." Yi Chun's words angered Red Moon King and the 36 demon kings. This human emperor was too arrogant. Therefore, the 36 demon kings roared and pounced on Yi Chun. Yi Chun gently stomped on Lava Dragon King and said, "I will give you more food. I will leave the 36 demon kings to you. If one of them escapes, I will take your head." The Lava Dragon King was instantly enlightened. It laughed wildly and said, "Master, don't worry. Leave these 36 useless snacks to me. They are dead meat. P.S. Happy New Year to all my readers. I wish you all happiness and good health." Chapter 1402. After all, the Lava Dragon King was once a demon god, even if his cultivation level had dropped to the heavenly demon realm. His combat experience was still there, especially now that he had the advantage in terms of cultivation level. There were only 36 demon kings. Suddenly, the Lava Dragon King roared and rushed out with a ferocious and terrifying aura. On the other hand, Yi Chun did not waste any time. His figure flashed and appeared before Red Moon King. The God-slaying spear carried a sharp force as it pierced towards Red Moon King's head. The God-slayer cut through the air, leaving a deep crack in the void. The speed of the spear was extremely fast. The Red Moon King wanted to say something, but it was too late. His pupils shrank. 2 wheeled axes appeared in his hands, and he fought with Yi Chun. The Red Moon King's expression turned serious as soon as they started fighting. He originally thought that the human emperor, who had just broken through to the Daluo Jinxian, was much weaker than him, a half-step demon god. He thought that he could capture him without much effort. However, he never expected that Yi Chun's cultivation level was not weaker than his at all. Moreover, Yi Chun's every move carried a force that made his heart palpitate. The Godslayer was even more deadly. The Godslayer's vital points were all covered in the attack of the Godslayer. Moreover, the Godslayer had the terrifying power to destroy souls. If he was stabbed by the Godslayer, he would be finished. On the other side, the Lava Dragon King had already shown his power. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and spat out a purple flame. The terrifying flames surrounded the 36 demon monarchs. Although the 36 demon kings cursed and escaped from the lava dragon king's flame attack, they were still in a sorry state. One of the demon kings said mockingly, "Stinky worm, although your flame looks decent, it's just like you and your servant. It can't even hurt a hair on my body. You're not here to be funny, right?" The other demon kings laughed along. They originally thought that it would be quite troublesome to deal with a heavenly demon. However, it seemed that the other party was bluffing, so they relaxed. Unexpectedly, Lava Dragon King also laughed out loud. His laughter was even louder than the 36 demon kings. A ferocious look appeared on the terrifying dragon's head. He gnashed his teeth and said, "A bunch of good-for-nothings. What a bunch of idiots. Did you think that I just spat out flames to play with you? No, you're all wrong. I just want to make a mark on your bodies because my master said that if I let one of you escape, he'll take my head. I don't dare to take the risk. I can only be at ease after you make a mark." Hearing this, the 36 kings immediately felt that something was wrong. They stopped smiling and immediately searched their bodies carefully. However, they didn't find anything wrong except for the burnt clothes. Suddenly, a demon king said in horror, "Oh no, what is this?" The demon king stretched out his arm. On his arm, which was covered in black hair, there was a palm-sized, blood-colored, dragon-shaped imprint. It was constantly emitting a faint blood-colored light. When the other demon kings saw this, they all revealed their arms and took a look. Instantly, everyone's expression changed, because every demon king had a blood-colored imprint on their arm. At this moment, Lava Dragon King had already pounced over with a ferocious smile. "You've been hit by my unique tracking imprint. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, you can't escape from my pursuit. So you're all dead." The 36 demon kings' hearts sank at the same time. This demon dragon spent so much effort to spit out flames just to leave a tracking imprint on them. How confident was he? One of the demon kings gritted his teeth and said, "Everyone, don't think too much. The only thing we could do now is to work together and kill this demonic dragon. I don't believe that we can't defeat him with so many of us." In an instant, the two sides engaged in a life-and-death battle. Rumble. Energy shot out in all directions. The sound waves shook the sky. Forced into a corner by the Lava Dragon King, the Yao Kings unleashed all of their moves. The scene of the battle was incomparably bloody. Blood splattered continuously on the battlefield. The violent collisions between them couldn't control the energy at all. Even the palace where Red Moon King was completely destroyed by the shockwave, leaving behind some broken walls and a mess on the ground. These demon kings didn't have time to think too much. Even if they were punished by Red Moon King, it was still better than being killed by this demon dragon. In fact, Red Moon King was in a worse state than them. He had been forced to retreat continuously by Yichun. Red Moon King was using all his strength. How could he have the time to care if his palace was still there? At this moment, Red Moon King suddenly heard a scream. He subconsciously glanced over from the corner of his eyes. He happened to see Lava Dragon King opening his bloody mouth and swallowing a demon king whole. At this moment, only 21 of the 36 demon kings were left. Moreover, they were all injured and in a sorry state. However, their morale was commendable. They continued to attack Lava Dragon King fearlessly. In fact, Red Moon King didn't know that the remaining demon kings had no choice. Even if they escaped, they wouldn't be able to escape Lava Dragon King's pursuit. They might as well fight to the death. Perhaps they could still have a chance of survival. However, the moment Red Moon King was distracted, Yi Chen's Godslayer pierced a hole in his thigh. Suddenly, with a soft bang, the Red Moon King's entire thigh turned into minced meat that filled the air and disappeared without a trace. Red Moon King screamed and quickly retreated. He clenched his teeth and a new thigh grew out. Yi Chen sneered and pressed forward. After hundreds of rounds, another thigh was broken by Yi Chen. "Come, let me see how many more thighs you can grow." Although Red Moon King quickly grew out another thigh, it consumed a lot of his energy. At this moment, his face was pale. When he looked at Yi Chen again, he was still as energetic as ever. He continued to attack violently. The Red Moon Great King rolled his eyes and looked as if he was going to fight Yi Chun to the death. However, he suddenly turned into a wisp of green smoke and fled at lightning speed. In just an instant, he was already thousands of miles away. Yi Chun was already on guard against him. Hence, he sneered and went after Red Moon King in a flash. As for the remaining Archfiend Kings, seeing that the Red Moon Monarch had escaped, their morale immediately crumbled. Because of this, they were all swallowed up by the Lava Dragon King one by one. As for the Red Moon Monarch, he was finally caught by Yi Chun after fleeing for 100,000 miles. Red Moon King looked at Yi Chun, who was casually following behind him. He suddenly turned around and gritted his teeth. He said, "Why do you have to threaten me with death? If you let me go, I can tell you a big secret." Chapter 14:03. After the Red Moon King finished speaking, she closed her eyes and resigned herself to her fate. Yi Chun's eyes were cold and his aura was icy. He was probably a tyrant who killed people like scything flax. The Red Moon Great King wasn't sure if the other party would listen to him. He was just trying everything he could. Just as the Red Moon Great King closed his eyes and waited for his death, he suddenly heard Yi Chun's cold voice, "Speak." The Red Moon Great King opened his eyes in disbelief. He saw that the Godslayer's spear was only a hair's breadth away from him. He could even smell the bloody stench coming from the spear. The Red Moon Great King's eyes widened rapidly as his heart raced. He had killed many people, but this was the first time he was on the brink of death. He could almost see Yi Chun's spear piercing through his neck and his head flying into the sky. Yi Chun said coldly, "It's best if you don't play any tricks. If what you say doesn't mean anything to me, I promise you that there will be crueler punishments waiting for you. I will make you regret it. Since you were born into this world, I will make you feel that death is the best release." The Red Moon Great King shuddered. He, who was shrouded by the shadow of death, didn't doubt Yi Chun's words at all. This guy could really do what he said. The Red Moon Great King nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. "I will tell you everything I know. I will tell you the truth without any falsehood or exaggeration. Recently, all the reputable figures in the demon race have heard of a piece of news. A Xiantian cardinal treasure is about to appear at Mount Buzhou's Tianju Peak. All the heavenly demons and demon gods are rushing over there. I have also received an invitation and am preparing to go over in a few days." Yi Chun's heart skipped a beat. A Xiantian cardinal treasure was about to appear at Mount Buzhou's Tianju Peak? Could it be that thing? Yi Chun's heart burned with passion. There were many treasures that appeared at famous mountains in the mythological world. Mount Buzhou was no exception. Among the treasures that appeared at Mount Buzhou's Tianju Peak, the most famous one was the Xiantian spiritual root gourd vine. Could the Red Moon Great King be talking about this thing? Yi Chun maintained his composure and said coldly, "You're not lying to me, are you? Be more specific. What kind of primordial cardinal treasure is it?" When the Red Moon King sensed the sharpness of the Godslayer, he shuddered. He hurriedly said, "Sir, how would I dare to lie to you? You only need to find a leader of the demon clan like me to know about this. That kind of innate cardinal treasure that seizes the fortune of heaven and earth has always belonged to the virtuous. In my opinion, you're a man of virtue and prestige. That innate cardinal treasure is prepared for you." The Red Moon Great King flattered Yi Chun without batting an eyelid. He even instigated Yi Chun to go and snatch the treasure. Yi Chun looked at the Red Moon King coldly. He was not fooled by his flowery words. "Is there something wrong with your ears? I'm asking what kind of primordial cardinal treasure it is. Don't play dumb with me." The Red Moon King shuddered in fright. He hurriedly said, "Sir, please forgive me. I only heard that it's a primordial spiritual root. I really don't know what it is." Yi Chun immediately understood. Although the Red Moon King did not know, he was almost certain that the primordial gourd vine was the primordial gourd vine. At this time, the Lava Dragon King's huge head came from the side. He looked at the Red Moon King greedily and said, "Master, are you done asking? This guy is very cunning. Don't trust him so easily. Why don't you let me deal with him? Don't dirty your hands." The Lava Dragon King's eyes shone with undisguised greed. A string of saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth. The Red Moon King was at the peak of the heavenly demon realm. He was also a half-step demon god. The demonic power stored in his body was extremely terrifying. It was definitely a great tonic for the Lava Dragon King. If the Lava Dragon King could devour him, he might be able to break through to the demon god realm. The Lava Dragon King approached step by step. Its sharp teeth were about to touch the Red Moon King. Although the Red Moon King was not small in size, compared to the Lava Dragon King's head, which was as big as a horse carriage, he was too small to be eaten. Meanwhile, Yichun had been watching coldly from the side, not saying a single word. This made the Red Moon Great King extremely nervous. The Red Moon King cried out anxiously, "Sir, please save me. I'm still useful. I'm still useful." Yichun waved his hand and stopped the Lava Dragon King. He waited for the Red Moon King to continue. The Red Moon King hurriedly said, "Sir, Mount Bujo is tens of millions of miles away from here. You need someone to lead the way. Besides, there are too many demons going this time. The aura of a living person on your body is too strong. It's as dazzling as the stars in the night sky. Even if you're powerful and fearless, you'd better come with me to avoid unnecessary trouble." Yichun frowned. The Red Moon King was right. The aura of a living person on his body was too strong. Even if he was invisible, he would still be discovered by the demons. Although Yichun was not afraid, he was not going to Mount Bujo to fight. His main goal was to get the Khanate Calabash Vine. Therefore, Yichun looked at the Red Moon King coldly and asked, "Do you have any ideas?" Thus, the Red Moon Great King carefully took out a green bead from his bosom and offered it with both hands. He carefully said, "Sir, this is my natal bead that I have cultivated for over 1,000 years. As long as you don't leave 100 miles from me with it, you will have the same aura as me." Yichun took the life origin pearl of the Scarlet Moon Great King and nodded. Indeed, this was the case. However, he frowned again. This Scarlet Moon Great King was truly cunning. If that was the case, Yichun really couldn't kill him, at least not before he obtained the innate gore vine. Seeing this, the Lava Dragon King sighed in disappointment. It seems like he won't be able to eat this delicacy. However, he was also helpless. Although he was also a demon, he didn't cultivate any life origin beads. He only had a monster core. If a monster core was taken away like this, then he would be finished. The next step was for the Reincarnation Dynasty to fully accept the Crimson Moon Ridge. Under Yichun's command, the officials and generals of the Reincarnation Dynasty led their troops and entered the ridge. This was also a training operation. Even the Red Moon King had surrendered. The remaining defeated soldiers were naturally not a threat. They were not in the mood to fight and wanted to escape the Crimson Moon Ridge. Unfortunately, the Nether Manuses had already sealed the border. Even a mosquito could not fly out. 3 days later, the Crimson Moon Ridge had completely changed hands. The flag of the Reincarnation Dynasty had been raised. At this moment, a clap of thunder sounded in the sky. System announcement. Congratulations to player Yichun for leading the Reincarnation Dynasty to expand their territory and occupy the Crimson Moon Ridge. The player is rewarded with 6 million Supreme Immortal Stones and 100,000 innate bone structure. Please congratulate him. Chapter 1404. This system announcement was too much of shock to the players. Yichun went to another state? What kind of speed is that? It's not fair, it's not fair. Why is it that we're trapped here and can't get out? Why is Yichun causing trouble for us? That's right. We should complain to the Heavenly Axiom. If this goes on, Yichun will finish all the meat outside, and we won't even be able to catch up with the soup when we get out. Hee hee, a bunch of ignorant guys. Why don't you think about it? Maybe the Heavenly Axiom is protecting us on purpose. Only the heavens know how dangerous it is outside. Do you fellows want to be compared to Great God Yichun? Maybe the day we lose the restriction will be the day we meet our doom. Do you think everyone is as trash as you? In my eyes, these uncivilized demons are just like chickens and dogs. They're not worth mentioning at all. For a moment, the World Channel was very lively. There were all kinds of comments. However, Yichen was not interested in their quarrels. He had completely stabilized the situation. The Reincarnation Dynasty had also completely established a foothold in the Crimson Moon Ridge. Yichen followed the Red Moon King and set off again with Xiaoxi and the Lava Dragon King. This time it was their turn. Their destination was Mount Buzhou. Yichen carried the Red Moon King's natal spiritual pearl with him, and his body was filled with the aura of demons. And Xiaoxi and the Lava Dragon King did not even need to disguise themselves. Yichen and Xiaoxi pretended to be the Red Moon King's followers. They swaggered through the streets and headed for Mount Buzhou quickly. Mount Buzhou was one of the few famous mountains in the Eldritch world. It stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Mount Buzhou stood between heaven and earth, and there were hundreds of thousands of pillars. Only half of them were below the clouds, while the other half were above the clouds. Countless demons lived on Mount Buzhou. The forest in Mount Buzhou was lush and could be seen everywhere. There were towering trees that required dozens of people to wrap their arms around, and old vines that were as thick as buckets wrapped around the trunks. The forest was filled with the roars of tigers and the cries of apes. It was a primitive scene. From time to time, one or two gigantic flying beasts would fly over the mountainside of Buzhou Mountain with their wings wide open, causing gusts of hurricanes. At this moment, many demons had gathered at the mountainside of Mount Buzhou. This place was filled with demonic aura, and even the air was filled with a strong, fishy smell. The demons who were qualified to come here were all at least at the Demon King realm. There were also many Sky Fae and very few Fae Celestials. Yichen and the Crimson Moon Great King had also arrived. They were sitting in a corner not far away. The Crimson Moon Great King was sitting in front, dealing with the Demon Kings who wanted to get close to him. Yichen looked on coldly from the side, sizing up the demons who had gathered here. Almost half of the demon experts in the Untainted Land had gathered here. Demonic chi filled the air. Yichen nodded secretly. Fortunately, he had come with the Crimson Moon Great King. If Yichen had come alone, it would not have been so easy for him to break into Mount Buzhou. Once these demons lost control or found a flaw, he would be in trouble. Those at the Demon King realm were not in Yichen's consideration at all. No matter how many of them there were, they would just be food. What he cared about were those at the Sky Fae and Fae Celestial realm. Only those at the Sky Fae Celestial realm could cause him some trouble. What made Yichen feel threatened were the three Fae Celestials who sat in the middle like stars around the moon. They were the three Fae Celestials with the highest cultivation. Through the conversations around, Yichen knew the true forms of the three Fae Celestials. One of them was a golden lion, one was a silver-horned rhinoceros, and the last one was a golden-backed carp. At this moment, the golden lion suddenly stood up. His majestic body was more than 10 meters tall, and his long golden hair danced in the wind. He roared, "Everyone be quiet. Now that almost everyone is here, let me be the representative and say a few words." After the golden lion spoke, a terrifying demonic power suddenly swept across the area. In an instant, the entire mountainside fell silent. All the demons raised their heads and looked at the golden lion uneasily. Yichen was also secretly shocked. The golden lion was indeed a Fae Celestial. His aura was too terrifying. Even though he had broken through to the Daluo Jinxian realm and had countless trump cards, he had no chance of winning against the golden lion. Moreover, there were two other Fae Celestials who were eyeing him covetously. The golden lion was clearly satisfied with the reaction around him. He continued, "The reason why we've gathered everyone here is that we've discovered a primordial treasure on Mount Buzhou. That's why we've invited all of you to participate in this gathering. Perhaps some of you want to ask why we didn't take the treasure for ourselves, but invited all of you instead?" The golden lion's words resonated strongly. This was indeed what the Fae Celestials didn't understand. They didn't believe that the golden lion would be willing to give away such a treasure. There must be something fishy going on. You've guessed correctly. Although I was the one who discovered the primordial treasure, Great opportunities like this always belong to the fated ones. Moreover, to obtain this primordial treasure, we must first break a naturally formed formation. This formation is blocking the entrance to the valley ahead. Everyone, follow me. With that, the Golden Lion and the other two Fey Celestials led all the Fey Celestials forward, stirring up a gust of wind. There was indeed a large valley on Mount Bujo that was shrouded in clouds. The fog that blocked the entrance to the valley almost sealed off all the routes up, down, left, and right. To enter the valley, they had to break this formation. In the eyes of the crowd, lightning flashed and thunder roared from time to time in the fog. Occasionally, cyan wind blades swept by. There were even some things they couldn't understand that were constantly moving in the fog. It seemed that the shape of the valley was constantly changing. It was like a dream or an illusion. The Golden Lion at the front frowned and said coldly, "After a period of continuous probing, we've come to the conclusion that this formation not only contains the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, but also wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. This formation is ever-changing. Once we enter, we'll be in grave danger. Even with my cultivation, I don't have the confidence to force my way through." Hearing this, the Red Moon King quietly turned to Yi Chun and said, "My lord, it seems that these 3 Fey Celestials are up to no good. They gathered us here to break the formation. Aren't they using us as cannon fodder?" Chapter 1405. Yichen glanced at the Scarlet Moon's sovereign lord and did not say anything. However, he revealed a cold smile. Obviously, the Golden Lion and the other 2 demon immortals wanted to use them as a guide. This Khanate formation was not simple. The formations inside were overlapping and ever-changing. Once they stepped in, they would be in danger. Otherwise, the Golden Lion and the rest would not be so helpless. Sure enough, after seeing the formation with their own eyes, the demons were all dumbfounded and frowned. There was no other reason than the fact that they didn't know anything about array formations. These demons were vicious and cunning by nature. It was not a problem for them to charge and break through enemy lines, but to ask them to study array formations was too difficult for them. What's wrong? We, the demon race, are all real men, real heroes. Those who are qualified to come here are lords. You don't even have the guts to break the formation? The Golden Lion's face turned colder and colder. His eyes shone with a fierce light. He said coldly, "If that's the case, I'll make the decision myself. Whoever I pick must go. Otherwise, I'll take it as a disrespect." The demons were shocked. The Golden Lion was going to use coercive measures. "You come out. I see that you brought the most followers. You could be considered strong. Go in and try. If you can break this formation, I'll reward you handsomely." The Golden Lion suddenly pointed ahead. Immediately, all the demons looked in the direction of the Golden Lion's finger. He was pointing at a black tiger demon at the peak of the Sky Demon Realm. Behind him stood a dozen strong demon kings. When he had just arrived, the black tiger demon had also talked loudly and made many friends. There were many demon kings who rushed to curry favor with him. But now, with a swoosh, the area around the black tiger demon was empty. No one was willing to stand with him. What if the golden-haired lion misunderstood and chased them in together? The black tiger demon's face stiffened. He was about to cry. If he knew this would happen, he would not have been in the limelight. The black tiger demon licked his lips and said with a smile, "Lord Demon God, I'm new here and I don't know anything. I'm also very tired and don't know anything. Why don't you let someone else try first, and I'll observe." The golden-haired lion squinted his eyes, revealing 2 rays of chilling light. He said in a sinister voice, "All right, you want to rest, right? Come here. I'll help you loosen your bones." The black tiger demon immediately shuddered. He sensed great danger from the Golden Lion. The Golden Lion seemed to be choosing a person to devour. Even its white fangs were bared. Immediately, the black tiger demon understood that he had no choice but to go. Entering the Khanate array formation was almost certain death, but if he didn't go, death was certain. Therefore, the black tiger demon suddenly seemed to have an epiphany. He said with an impassioned expression, "If that person doesn't need it, I understand now. This time, I came for this Xiantian formation. Please wait here for my good news." The black tiger demon impatiently led the dozen demon kings behind him towards the Khanate formation like a gust of wind. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the strange gray fog. At this moment, all the demons, including the golden-furred lion, were staring at the black tiger demon and the others. After they rushed into the gray fog, everything became hazy. Even if these demons had strong divine senses, they could not completely explore the situation in the formation. Perhaps because Yi Qin's divine senses were relatively pure, he could vaguely capture some of the situation inside. In Yi Qin's perception, after the black tiger demon and the other demons entered the formation, they were randomly transmitted to different places. No one could see each other. The formation seemed to isolate all sounds. No matter how they shouted, no sound could be transmitted. Yi Qin stared at the formation. The changes began. Gusts of cold wind kept blowing, and purple thunderbolts kept flashing inside. In just a breath's time, the dozen demon kings were all buried in the Khanate formation. The black tiger demon's cultivation was the highest, but it only lasted for a quarter of an hour before he was cut into pieces by the sharp wind blades. Only his skeleton was left, and finally, he dissipated in the formation. Although the onlookers did not have as keen an observation as Yi Qin, they all heard clearly that after the black tiger demon led his subordinates into the formation, there was a burst of wailing and howling from inside. Such screams became rarer and rarer, and it did not stop until a quarter of an hour later. Everyone's face suddenly changed. They knew that the black tiger demon and his men were all finished. The golden-furred lion king was expressionless. Even his eyes did not change, as if he had already guessed this outcome. He turned around and looked coldly at all the people who had come to participate. He said, "The black tiger demon is good. This kind of fearless spirit is worth learning from every one of us. Is there anyone below who is willing to stand up and take the initiative to investigate? If there is no one, I will call out your names." This time, all the demons took a few steps back. They lowered their heads and prayed in their hearts that the golden-furred lion would not see them. Wasn't this courting death? They even began to regret participating in such a show. The Red Moon King was the same. Although there were only a few of them, and the possibility of being called out by the golden-furred lion was not high, he was still a little nervous. However, at this moment, he suddenly remembered Yi Qin's voice transmission in his mind. "Stand out and take the initiative to go to this Khanate formation." The Red Moon King was so frightened that his legs trembled and he almost fell to the ground. He complained in his heart. What was this man trying to do? Why was he looking for trouble? It was a pity that his life was now in the hands of someone else. It was not that the Red Moon King did not want to go all out and call out Yi Qin's true identity. However, he knew very well that if he really had such thoughts, he would probably be killed by Yi Qin as soon as the first word came out of his mouth. At this moment, suddenly, a tyrannical and unreasonable force wrapped around the Red Moon King and made him stand out. In a situation where everyone was retreating, the Red Moon King's standout was especially abrupt. However, the golden-furred lion's eyes suddenly lit up. He laughed and said to the Red Moon King, "Good job, kid. You are indeed a warrior of the demon race. You want to take the initiative to investigate that formation, right?" At this moment, the Red Moon King was ready to throw caution to the wind. Impassioned, he slapped his chest and said loudly, "That's right. We are from the demon race, and there are heroes everywhere. How can we be frightened by a small array formation? Although I am not talented, I am willing to explore the path for everyone. If I do not return, I hope that everyone can help me take care of the people in my territory." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.